Hey everybody, I'm Josh Jackson from WPSculptor.com. Thank you so much for joining me. In this step-by-step video tutorial, I'll be walking you through how to create a fantastic website with WordPress using a premium WordPress theme called Divi that's created by a great company called Elegant Themes. Divi is a wonderful theme to use if you are truly looking to take your website to a new level of professionalism. Not only is it incredibly customizable, it's also very easy to use, mobile-friendly, and compatible with the WooCommerce e-commerce plugin. As always, this tutorial is comprehensive so that everyone, including absolute beginners, can easily follow along. If you find the video helpful, please like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share the video on YouTube, and add the video as a favorite. These things really help me out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. In just a moment, we'll look at the exact website I'm going to show you how to create step by step, but first, we'll start with the bullet list. The following step-by-step video tutorial will include setting up a domain name and hosting account with HostGator.com, getting your first month of web hosting for just 1 cent, installing WordPress onto your hosting account, purchasing, downloading, and installing the premium mobile-friendly Divi theme, creating pages, creating navigation menus with drop-down functionality, specifying which page is your home page, using the page builder feature of the Divi theme to have complete control over the content and layout of your pages, using modules included with the Divi theme to add incredible looking content to your website, using the accordion module to create a frequently asked questions page, using the contact form and map modules to create the contact page, using sections with the page builder to customize background colors and images for different areas of content on your pages, using team member modules to create the about page, using high quality stock photos from a free online resource, using the testimonial module to add clean and professional looking testimonials to your website, using the gallery module to add 2 types of photo galleries to your pages, using the color schemes that come with the Divi theme to come up with a professional color palette for the rest of your site, creating a professional logo with 2 free online resources, creating an optional blog and using post formats to further customize blog posts, using widgets and widget areas, creating the homepage with multiple modules including a full-width slideshow, using the blurb module and several icons out of over 300 professional icons that are included with the Divi theme, using the call to action module to draw attention to certain content, adding blog posts to your pages using the blog module, giving you more control over your blog post content and where it appears throughout your site, using the parallax effect for background images on your site, creating projects and using the carousel module, using WordPress plugins, choosing to use a background color or image with a box layout or choosing to use the full width layout, completely customizing your website's color scheme, basic WordPress settings, and more. Alright, this is the exact website I'm going to show you how to make step by step without skipping any steps. The first thing we're going to do is set up a domain name and hosting account with a great company called HostGator.com. And my domain name is quickwebsitecreation.com, but as you can see I'm using a subdomain which is photo.quickwebsitecreation.com, and I'm doing that just because I don't want to have to purchase a new domain name every time I make a new video tutorial, but I'm going to show you how you can get your own actual domain. And once we have that set up, I'm going to show you how to install WordPress onto your hosting account, and WordPress is free to use. And after we do that, I'm going to show you how to purchase and install the Divi WordPress theme that I'm using here, and you'll be able to get that for $69, and we'll go over the many benefits of using a premium WordPress theme. We'll also go over basic theme settings such as selecting the orange color scheme that you see here, as well as using the optional phone number, email address, and these social media links in your top header. And I'll also show you how to use the other default color schemes that come included with the Divi theme, and those include blue, green, red, orange, which you see here, and pink. And you'll also be able to create your own color scheme if you don't want to use the defaults. And we'll also be creating navigation menus with drop-down functionality, which you see here. This is a drop-down menu, and we have a main menu in our header, and then we also have a secondary menu in our upper header area. I'm going to show you how to set that up. I'm also going to show you how to create this logo and this icon that you see here with 2 free online resources. I'm also going to show you how to use the full width slideshow module that you see here, and it stretches to the full width of the screen. You can also use the standard slideshow if you prefer. And with the slideshow, you can scroll through these images and add background pictures. You can add pictures on top of your background images, and you can also add text that you see here, and you can add clickable buttons that you see here. And when I click on this, it takes me to the portfolio page because that's what I have specified. And with the portfolio page, I'm going to show you how to create two different types of photo galleries. We have the slider layout, which you see here, and I can use these arrows to navigate through the different images. Scroll down there, and I can click on these images and open them up in a lightbox and scroll through them that way as well. And if we scroll down, we also have a grid layout, so we'll be demonstrating both types of slideshows. And let's go back to the home page. And you probably noticed that when my mouse is hovering over one of the slides, it remains paused on the slideshow, but if I move my mouse off of the slideshow, it rotates automatically, and I've got it set to rotate every 3 seconds. So we're going to be going over all of those settings. I'm also going to show you where I got all of my high quality stock photos that you see here, and you can use these on personal and commercial projects completely for free. It's a wonderful resource, so we're going to go over that. And when I scroll down, notice that the navigation bar remains fixed on the page, and this is an optional feature, and I'm going to show you how to enable or disable this feature. I'm going to show you how to use the page builder that comes with the Divi theme to completely customize your layout for all of your pages. Everything that you see on my home page was hand selected, and you'll be able to create any of your pages with any of these modules and with any layout that you want. And this is an example of using a 3-column layout. These 3 different sections are called blurb modules, and they're linked to other pages on my site, and I can click on the icons or the blurb titles to be taken to those pages. And I'm going to show you how to choose how many rows and columns you want for your layout, as well as how to use over 300 icons that come with the Divi theme and make them any color that you want. I'm also going to show you how to make any text on your site a link to another web page, either on your site or anywhere on the web for that matter. And also notice that these 3 icons, the colors that I have selected, they go really well with the orange color scheme. I'm going to show you a couple of different color resources that you can use to find colors that go really well with each other. I'm also going to show you how to add what's called the divider module, which is this thin line that you see here, and I just think it's a really simple way to add another element of professionalism to your site. Then let's scroll down. I'm going to show you how to use this call to action module that you see here with text, and we've got a link. This button is a link to a specified page, and you can link to whatever page you want. I've got this one linked to my testimonials page, and I'm also going to show you how to have complete control over the background color or background images for different sections on your site. And of course for this section I chose to use this dark brown background. And let's scroll down. And I'm going to show you how to create an optional blog on your website and then organize your blog posts into categories. And I'll show you how to add your blog posts to any page. And you can even choose to only show a specific number of posts from specific blog categories on certain pages if you want, which gives you more control over your website content. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm also going to show you how to use different post formats, such as the link post format that you see here. This is actually right here, there's actually a clickable link to another web page. And then this is the video post format, and you can actually play this video. I can watch it right from this screen. And then this is a standard post format, and it's just using a featured image as our thumbnail. And I can click on these read more buttons, or I can click on the blog title to be taken to the actual posts page. This is what a standard post looks like. You have the title of your blog post, and then you have the featured image showing up at the top above the contents of your post. And I'm going to show you how to use the visual editor to add images within the contents of your post. And then if we scroll down, I'm going to go over comment settings. Comments are optional settings. If you choose to use comments, I think they're a great way to encourage your users to interact with you and with your content. But like I said, they're completely optional, and we're going to go over all those settings. And let's scroll up, and you probably noticed on the right we have what's called a sidebar, and a sidebar is also what's called a widget area. So we're going to be going over widgets and widget areas. These 4 different things are called widgets, and this last widget is actually a plugin that we're going to go over that adds a visual editor to our widget, to our available widgets. So we're going to go over how to use that, and then if we scroll down, we also have 4 widget areas in our footer, and we're going to go over all those settings. And we also have a footer menu that's optional, and these optional footer social media links that we're going to go over. Let's go back to the home page, and I'm going to scroll down, And this next section, I'm going to show you how to add a whole section with your own background image, and I'm going to show you where I got this background image. And also when I scroll, notice that the content scrolls around the background image. The background image remains fixed on the page like that. That's called the parallax effect, and we're going to go over how to use that. And also I'm using the page builder to create this section with two columns. The first column is using the image module that you see here, and then the second column I'm using 4 blurb modules with the checkmark icon. We're going to go over all that. Also, some of the modules have an optional animation option, and we're going to go over how to use that as well. And let's scroll down. And the last thing we're going to add to our home page is what's called the carousel module that you see here. And it rotates automatically if you want it to. That's an optional setting. I've got it set to rotate every 3 seconds. And just like the slideshow module, when you hover over these images, it pauses the automatic rotation. And each one of these images is linked to what's called a project, and projects are something that are unique to the Divi theme. So when I click on this image, it's going to take me to the project page, which of course I'm going to show you how to create. And projects are a great way to showcase certain parts of your business or your brand. And you would have a featured image, and we have the content. And also we have the projects added to our navigation menu here as a drop down. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that. And let's go back to our home page, which by the way, you can click on home in the menu, and you can also click on the logo to be taken to the home page. And I want to show you that when we resize our website, it's going to look great on mobile devices. Resizes very nicely. All of your content gets resized appropriately, and also the menu gets turned into a mobile menu. So it's going to look great on mobile devices. I also want to point out that the Divi theme is compatible with the popular WooCommerce plugin. So even though we aren't going to go over that plugin in this video, it's nice to know that you can easily add e-commerce functionality to your site with that plugin. And then let's take a look at our About page. I'm going to show you how to create this section here with the background image and the text, and then scroll down. I'm going to show you how to create these team member modules that you see here, and you'll be able to have an image, title, and description of the team member, as well as social media links to the team members' social media pages if you choose to do that. And let's take a look at the testimonials page. And of course I'm going to show you how to use the testimonial modules that you see here. And also this is a 3-column layout with each testimonial taking up its own column. And just remember that you can determine how many different sections you want on any given page, and you can use as many rows and up to 4 columns for each section. And also keep in mind that all of the modules can be used on any page, and that includes all the modules that I went over that are on my home page. Alright, and we've already gone over the portfolio page with the gallery modules that we're going to be using. Let's take a look at our blog. And of course I'm going to show you how to specify which page is your blog page if you do choose to have a blog, and it will show your most recent posts at the top, and will show a thumbnail and usually an excerpt from the post. And of course we can click on the post titles, which you see here, here, and in the case of the link post format, the title is here, and we can be taken to the individual blog post page, just like that. And then let's click on our contact page in our top menu. I'm going to show you how to set this contact form up, and when your users fill out the form and submit it, a copy of the form will be sent to the email address that you specify. So I'll show you how to set that up. And then this CAPTCHA form is optional if you want to control spam comments. And then let's scroll down, and you're going to create a section where 2/3 of the available space is for the map module that we'll use, and then 1/3 will be used for a text module. And for the map, you can have multiple locations if you want. I'm going to show you how to set all that up. Let's click on our frequently asked questions page. And this is called the accordion module, which I think is pretty cool. You can have as many different levels as you want. We of course have 3 here, and when you click on each one, it's going to show you the answer to the question, just like that. I'm also going to show you how to use a boxed layout instead of the full width layout, and with the boxed layout you can have a background image or a color for your entire site. And as you can see, I've got it set to a brown background color, but I'm also going to show you how to get and use background images as well. And then I'll just scroll down just to let you get a feel for what the boxed layout would look like. Also, keep in mind that with as much material as I'm covering, I'm really only showing you how to use about half of the available modules, so you can experiment with the other modules when you want to. The Divi theme also comes with specific video instructions for each module, so anything I don't cover should be covered with these other videos, and I'm going to show you how to access those as well. And of course, all of this I'm going to show you how to do step by step without skipping any steps, so that even absolute beginners with no experience whatsoever will be able to easily follow along. The first thing we need to do is set up our hosting account and a domain name, and for that I highly recommend using a company called HostGator.com. They have a wonderful product and service, they've got excellent pricing, and they also have an option for you to pay by the month, which makes it really easy for you to get started. So let's go ahead and go to HostGator.com. And when you get there, click on web hosting here to view the web hosting plans. And I want to point out that right now they have 20% off all their plans, but I'm actually going to show you how to get a better deal than that. And then if we look below, we have three different hosting plan options. The cheapest plan is called the Hatchling plan, and you can only host one domain on that account. So if you only need to have one website, then this is going to be a great option for you. I usually suggest the Baby plan. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can host as many different domains as you want on that one account for the same price. So if you have multiple websites, or if you plan to have multiple websites, this is a great option for you. And then the business plan, it's got these two different features, the private security feature and this free toll-free number. Most people probably don't need that. So we're going to go with the Baby plan. So go ahead and click on Order Now. If you don't have a domain name, this is where you need to register a new one. And of course, a domain name is what your users would type in to access your website, such as google.com or amazon.com. And I actually already have my domain name, which is quickwebsitecreation.com, and because I don't want to have to purchase a new domain name every time I make a new video tutorial, I'm going to use a subdomain, which is going to be photo.quickwebsitecreation.com. But I do want to show you what it would look like if you were registering a new one. You would type in the domain that you want here, and then you have these different ending options. .com, of course, is the most common. You also have .net and these other three. But we're going to leave it to .com. And I'm going to see if onlineprophoto.com is available, and you can see here that it is, and you would obviously get a different message if that domain name was taken, and you would just have to experiment with different domain names or possibly with different endings. And to proceed with this is going to cost $12.95, and this is going to cover you for a full year, and after that year's up you would just have to pay for the next year's domain fee, which should be around the same price. And then below here we have these different options with the different endings, and you could select those if you wanted to own those domains as well. But we're just going to leave it to the onlineprophoto.com for now. And I do want to point out, if you did already own a domain name and you have it with another company such as GoDaddy.com, you could select this option and then proceed with the rest of your hosting checkout, and then when you finish, HostGator will send you an email with specific directions on how to link your hosting account with your domain account. Alright, so let's go ahead and scroll down and make sure that you select the appropriate package type that you want. We do want the Baby plan, and then you choose the billing cycle. You can pay for multiple months at once, and you do get, it's actually a better deal to do it that way, but it's also higher upfront cost to you. So we're just going to pay for 1 month at a time. And I've got a coupon code that will show you how to get your first month for 1 cent. So I'm going to select the 1 month option. Then come down here, and you do need to put in a username that fits the criteria here, and then a security pin as well. I'm just going to use 1234. And scroll down and enter your billing information. And you can also choose to pay with PayPal if you would rather do it that way. And then scroll down, and these options might be checked by default. You can read through these options and see for yourself if you need these additional features. A lot of times it's easier just to get started as basic as possible, so I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck these. You can always add these later. And then scroll down. Now this coupon code will give you 20% off. I've got a couple of different coupon codes. The first one will give you your first month of web hosting for 1 cent, and that's WP Sculptor, 1 cent. and then you could hit validate. And then if we scroll down, you can see that our first month of hosting is just 1 cent, and our domain registration is $12.95, and that's going to be a full year's worth of domain registration. So our total bill is $12.96, and then after the first month that you get for 1 cent, you would be billed $9.95 every month. Now, the other coupon code that I have is WP-Sculptor25, and if we hit validate there, this is going to give you 25% off your entire hosting order, and this is a better deal for people that are paying for multiple months at one time. But we're just going to stick with WP Sculptor 1 cent, hit validate, and then I do want to point out also that these coupon codes, if you use them, they do really help me out a lot. I get a small commission for referring you to HostGator, and that helps me keep these videos going. I really appreciate that. And so go ahead and come down here and click on that you have read and agree to the terms and conditions, and click on create account. Alright, give HostGator about 15 minutes or so to get your account set up, and then you're going to check your email. Okay, after a few minutes, check your email account, and you should have an email from HostGator, and it should be from sales@hostgator.com. Go ahead and open that up. And what you'll see here is you have a link to your control panel here. You have the username that you specified right there, and then you have the automatically generated password here. We're going to need all of those pieces of information to access our control panel. So go ahead and click on the control panel link. That's going to open up in a new tab. And then you will grab your username, copy that, make sure you don't get any additional characters, paste that in, and then you're going to grab your password, again making sure that you get all the characters and no additional empty spaces. And you're going to copy that and paste that in here. And of course I've changed mine. But you'll just paste yours in. Click on login. Alright, this is what your control panel looks like, and this is where we're going to install WordPress onto our hosting account. So go ahead and scroll down all the way down here under software/services. Click on quick install. And I do want to point out that your area here should be blank with a new hosting account and a new domain name with HostGator. I've got all these different WordPress installations on my account, and you would be able to do the same if you have the baby package with the baby hosting package with HostGator. But go ahead and come over here and click on WordPress and click on continue. And again, you should only have one domain here, which is the domain that you just registered, but I've got all these different domains and subdomains. I'm going to choose the photo.quickwebsitecreation.com subdomain that I've already created, and that's for the purposes of this tutorial. Leave this section blank, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck enable auto upgrades. Then you need to put in your email address and choose a blog title. You can always change this, and choose a username and your first and your last name, and then click on install now. When you get this message, your WordPress installation is complete, but when registering a new domain name, your domain name has to do what's called propagate, and this is just part of the process. So you won't be able to access your website until your domain completes the propagation process. I do want to point out though that there is some important information you need to get here. The first thing, you need to copy this password, and of course we'll be able to change this to something more memorable, but you do want to copy that because we're going to need this password and the username that you just specified here to log into the back end of your WordPress website, and that's where we're going to make changes to our website. And the link to the back end of our WordPress website is right here, and all it is your domain name /WP-admin. So in my case, it's photo.quickwebsitecreation.com /WP-admin. So let's give it a couple of hours and we'll check back. Alright, after a few hours, you're going to check to see if your domain name has propagated. And to do that, just open a new tab and type in your domain name. So for me, photo.quickwebsitecreation.com. And once you can go to your website and you get something that looks similar to this, you know that your domain has propagated and that you are now able to access it and make changes to your website. This is what a brand new WordPress installation looks like. This is the default 14 theme that currently comes with WordPress. Of course, we're going to be changing the look and feel of our site completely by using the Divi theme. Alright, but now to access the back end of our website, which is where we're going to make all the changes, we can do that one of two ways. We can go back here to this quick install screen, and like I pointed out earlier, you have this link that will take you directly to your login screen, and you'll use these credentials. Or you can go back here and type in your domain name, and then at the end of your domain name add /wp-admin. And this is going to take us to the login screen here. You'll type in your username, and then you'll type in or paste in your password, and the username is here and the password is going to be here. So I'm going to copy this and paste in that password there. Click on login. And this is what the back end of your WordPress looks like. The first thing I want to point out is if you do have a message up here that it lets you know that there's a new version of WordPress available, go ahead and follow the instructions to update your WordPress version to the latest version. And then let's go ahead and take care of a few housekeeping items. The first thing I want to do is deactivate a plugin called WP Supercache, and that plugin can cause some conflicts for some people that I've noticed especially when you're developing your website and you're making a lot of changes within a relatively short amount of time. Sometimes it takes a while for those changes to actually show, so that's not really ideal when you're developing your website. So to deactivate this plugin, go to Plugins, click on Installed Plugins. Then we're going to scroll down here, and at the bottom where it says WP Supercache, click on Deactivate. And then scroll down, and it should be deactivated now. Click on Delete underneath WP Supercache. And you can always reinstall and reactivate this plugin later. Yes, we do want to delete this files and data. So click on that. And I do want to point out that it is a good idea to look into the WP Supercache plugin once you have your website pretty well completed, because it really can speed up your website. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is change our login password to something we can actually remember. So to do that, let's go to Users, click on All Users, and you should just have one user currently, which is the user you just created when we installed WordPress. Hover over your username, click on Edit, and then scroll down to the bottom here, and we want to specify a new password, so go ahead and type in your new password, and then retype that into the second box, and then click on Update Profile, and then I want to come on down to Settings and click on General, and I want to make sure that my site title is correct, and that's the site title that we specified when we installed WordPress just a moment ago. And that is what I want, mock photography. And then the tagline, you definitely want to change this. The default tagline, just another WordPress site. I'm going to change this to Welcome to Mock Photography. And then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and click on Save Changes. It's always very important when you're developing your website with WordPress to save the changes immediately so that they actually take effect. And the last thing I want to do real quick before we really get going with the construction of our website is remove one more plugin. So go to Plugins, click on Installed Plugins, and scroll down. We're going to deactivate and delete this plugin called Sidekick. Basically what this is a new plugin that comes with WordPress that helps beginners navigate, and we don't really need that. So I'm going to hover over, click on Deactivate, and then I'm going to scroll down and click on Delete underneath Sidekick, and click on Yes, delete these files. Alright, now it's time to download and install the Divi theme that we're going to use. First, real quick, just a few words on what the Divi theme is and why you might want to consider using it. There are thousands of free WordPress themes to choose from, and many of them are free, and I have several other videos on my YouTube channel that show you how to use some of these excellent free themes. But for this video, I'm going to use a premium theme, which of course is the Divi theme. Now the Divi theme is a great theme to use if you really want to take your website to the next level of professionalism. With the Divi theme, you will have more control over the type of content that appears on any given page. On many other themes, there may be specific options for your home page, such as having a slideshow or having several featured sections with icons and short blurbs, and maybe having excerpts from your blog post showcase. The problem that presents itself is, what if you want to utilize some of those features on pages other than your home page? With many other themes, you can't do that easily since those options are only available on your home page, but with a Divi theme, you can utilize all those functionality options on any page that you wish. Now, while using the Divi theme page builder, you will also have complete control over your layout for each individual page. To put this in perspective, with more traditional WordPress themes, you're usually limited to a sidebar section and a content section. Within this content section, there's typically only one column, but with the Divi theme page builder, you can customize each page to have several different rows and columns, and you can even control the background color or the background images for each individual section you create within a page. And this provides an outlet for further customization and creativity. Another reason to consider using the Divi theme is that by purchasing the Elegant Themes membership, you will have complete access to 87 different themes, including Divi. You have this access to all of these themes for 1 full year, and after that year's up, if you choose not to renew your membership, you can still use every theme that you've ever downloaded. You just won't be able to access the new themes that they release and additional updates for the themes that you already have. Now, the last thing I want to point out about purchasing an Elegant Themes membership is that it comes with customer support. So if you run into anything that you need help figuring out, you can access their customer support team, and they also have outstanding video instructions for each of the different Divi components, and I'm going to show you how to access those videos as well. I do want to point out that I am an affiliate for Elegant Themes, so if you do want to support me and what I'm doing with these video tutorials, you can go through my affiliate link by going to wpsculptor.com/Divi, and that will redirect you to the Elegant Themes website. You can purchase the membership at no additional cost to you while also supporting me at the same time, and I would just like to thank you in advance for doing that. It really means a lot to me. Alright, so let's open up a new tab, and we're going to type in wpsculptor.com/Divi, and that's going to take us to the Elegant Themes website. And the first thing I want you to notice is that they do have over 250,000 customers, which to me, I think that speaks pretty highly about the company. And they do currently have 87 themes, and you have access to all of those themes and any additional themes that they develop while you still have a membership. And of course, your membership will last 1 year if you choose that option. And let's go ahead and click on View Our Themes. And Divi should be the one at the top. If you are watching this video in the future, you may need to scroll down and find the Divi theme. But right now it is appearing here at the top. Go ahead and click on Learn More. And you can click on this button to view the live theme demo to see all the different functionality options and features that are available with the Divi theme. To purchase the Divi theme and, in essence, an Elegant Themes membership, click on Join to Download, and then scroll down, and you can see that you have 3 different options. I will tell you that I am using the personal option. It gets you an Elegant Themes membership for 1 year, and you can see the things that it does not come with. If you are a website developer and plan to develop multiple websites for other clients, you might be interested in getting access to all the plugins and the layered Photoshop files. And the lifetime access is a good deal if you plan to be developing websites for the foreseeable future. The lifetime access does pay for itself in a little over 3.5 years when compared to the personal membership. Alright, so let's just scroll down. You can read the testimonials, and then I do want to show you the frequently asked questions section that you can look through. You can use the themes on as many different websites as you like. There are no restrictions, and you do have 30 days for no questions asked refund policy, and you can read through all these other questions that you might have. So go ahead and scroll up and choose the plan that you want, and then you're going to click on the sign up button. And after you sign up and register, you'll need to click on login, and I've already logged in, and it's taken me to the members area. And you should be on the Themes tab by default. Go ahead and scroll down. And under Theme Downloads, you want to find Divi. And click on Download next to Divi. And we do want to download the theme package. So click on that. And then right here, it's very important that you choose to save the file as opposed to open the file, because if you open the file, you can see the Divi is a zipped file. If you open it, your computer might actually unzip the file, and you have to have a zipped file to be able to upload the theme to WordPress. So we do need to save the file, and just so you know, I am using Firefox, and it definitely gives me the option to save the file. Certain browsers may open automatically, but I am using Firefox, and it does have this option. So you want to save the file to somewhere where you can find it on your hard drive. Click on OK, and that's going to download to my downloads folder. And then I'm going to go back to the back end of my WordPress website. And to install the theme, I'm going to go to Appearance, Themes, click on Themes, and we want to click on Add New. And as you can see, we do need a .zip format, and we're going to find the file on our computer by clicking on Browse. And I know that the file is in my Downloads folder. Divi.zip, click on Open, and then click on Install Now. And then the last thing you want to do is activate the theme by clicking on Activate. Alright, now that we have our theme installed, we can view the front end of our site. And just so you know, this is of course the back end of our site, which is where we make all the changes to our website. And then to access the front end, a little shortcut, you can click on your website title here on the top left. That's going to switch to the front end. And you can see that we have a completely different look and feel. And of course, we're going to be changing this up dramatically as well, but this is the brand new installation of the Divi theme. And this right here is the admin bar, and it only shows up when you're logged in. And so of course your users won't actually see this bar, and you won't see this bar if you're logged out. And the way to log out is to go over to the right, hover over your username, and click on Log Out. And I do want to show you, if we type in just our domain name, photo.quickwebsitecreation.com, you'll see that there is no admin bar as we're not logged in, but let's go ahead and log back in. And I do want to point out real quick, if you leave your computer for a while and you remain logged into the back end of your website, and you come back to work on it again, and you realize that the changes you're making aren't taking effect, go ahead and log out and log back in, and that should fix that problem. So we're just going to log back in. And the first thing I want to show you is how to access the support documentation that comes with the Divi theme through Elegant Themes. Go ahead and go to Appearance, click on Divi Theme Options, and then come over and click on Support Docs, and click on Read Divi Documentation. Alright, if we scroll through, you see all these different categories, and then all the different modules that are available with the Divi theme. Everything is laid out for you all right here, and you can click on whatever is of interest. For example, if you're having trouble with the testimonials module, you can click here and scroll down, and you have a video that you can watch that walks you through how to use the module. And then you also have written documentation. Just wanted to point that out. Let's go back to the back end, and let's click on General Settings. And most of the settings here we're just going to leave to the default. This is where we're going to add our logo, by the way, later in the video. But for now, let's just scroll down and set up our social media links. With the Divi theme, you have the option to include social media links to your social media pages on your header and on your footer. And this is the first place we control that. First of all, you see that you have 4 different social media options: Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and an RSS icon. By default, they are all enabled, and we're going to go ahead and disable the RSS icon by clicking "This is enabled" there to disable that. And then what you need to do is open up each of your social media accounts individually, and you would copy and paste the URL. For example, I'm going to go to twitter.com, and what you would do if you wanted your Twitter account on your site, you would log into your Twitter account, and then after you're logged in, you would copy the URL of your account, and you would come down and you would paste that in here. And I'm just going to use the home page of each of these just for demonstration purposes. Okay, and then what we need to do is come down and save the change. Scroll down and click on Save. It's very important to save all your changes. Then I'm going to come over and open the front end of my site up in a new tab, and that way I can switch back and forth between my back end and my front end. And to do that, I'm just going to hover over my site title here in the top left and right click or control click if you're using a Mac, and I'm going to click on open link in new tab there. And now if I go look at the front end of my site and scroll down, you can see that I have the 3 social media options that I specified, and each one, if you look at the left of my screen, the bottom left, you'll see the URL for each of those, and that's the exact URL that I put in place just now. And then also notice that we have the attribution to Elegant Themes and WordPress right here. I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to get rid of that. Let's go ahead and go back to the back end and make sure that you're on the same page, Appearance, Divi Theme Options, General Settings, and scroll down to the bottom. And in this section, Custom CSS, I've got a CSS code that you need to put in to remove that attribution. I'm just going to copy that and paste that in. All it is, you can just read that there. It's the pound footer-info, and then make sure you've got all of these characters. This is a semicolon, and this is actually a colon. Make sure all of these characters are in place exactly, and then you're going to click on Save. And now if we view the front end of our site, and I'm going to refresh the page, you'll notice that that attribution will disappear. Alright, very good. Alright, let's go back to the back end and set up the second part of where our social media links are controlled. Let's go ahead and scroll up here, and you're going to go to Appearance and click on Customize. Alright, this is a pretty neat feature because we have on the right here, we have what our front end of our site looks like, and as we make changes to these settings on the left, most of those changes will show up on the right so that we can get a feel for what it would look like on our actual site even before we apply the change by saving here. So that's just a neat feature. Go ahead and click on Theme Settings, and I want to show you by default we have the Show Social Icons and Footer checked. If we scroll down, of course our social icons are there. If we unchecked that, then they would disappear. Of course, we would have to save before that change actually takes effect. But we're going to go ahead and leave that option checked to show the social icons in the footer, and we're going to go ahead and check to show the social icons in the header. And I do want to point out that even though the social icons aren't showing up now, they will be showing up once we save and view the front end of our site. So let's go ahead and leave that. We are going to be going over the boxed layout setting later in the video when we have the rest of our site complete. For now, we're going to be using a full width layout, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that unchecked, and I'm going to uncheck stretch background image because that would only apply if we were using a background image with a boxed layout. And then let's go ahead and let's say we want to put a phone number in our header. We would add that here. Okay, and you can see that what that would look like. And let's say we wanted to have an email. Add that there. And I want to make my header text a little bit darker. So I'm going to come down and change this from light to dark. And you can see that change take effect. Alright, let's go ahead and save and publish these changes so far. And if we come back and look at the front end of our site and refresh the change, or refresh the page, you'll see that we now have our phone number, email, and social media icons in our header, and also our social media icons in our footer. Let's go ahead and go back and make some additional changes here to our site settings. I do want to point out the header style, you have the default option that we're using currently. You also could center that, and the logo that we'll add later on would show up here, and your navigation menu, which of course we're going to create and customize, would show up there. Also, if you did not want to have this search icon feature, you could uncheck the box here, and that would take care of that once you saved and published, but we're going to go ahead and leave that for now, and I'm going to leave the default option selected there. And let's scroll down, and let's choose our color scheme for the site by clicking on Schemes. And the default color scheme is the blue color scheme. You've got 5 total options. I really like the way the orange color scheme looks, so I'm going to choose that. And later on, when we create other pages on our site and our logo, we're going to be getting into some color theory, but we're going to discuss that later on. For now, we're just going to use the orange color scheme. Alright, and now let's specify what fonts we want to use by clicking on Fonts here. And my only suggestion is just to make sure that your fonts look professional and that they are legible. For the header font, I'm going to use a font called Playfair Display. I'm going to click here where it says default and scroll down and choose Playfair Display there, and you can see that that changed the Hello World text there, which is a heading. And then the body font, I'm going to use a font called Merriweather. So I'm going to scroll down, find that. Alright, now I'm going to save and publish that. And actually, before we view this site, I do want to show you, if we come down or come over here and click on colors, we're going to leave these all to the default colors right now, but you can experiment with these different colors. For example, if you wanted your header here, this section, to be a different color, we could select from the list here and choose just like that. We're going to leave it at the default for now. And let's go ahead and just save and publish, and then refresh the front end of our site. Alright, and you can see our font's changed, and we have our color scheme showing up here with the social icons and our email and phone number. Alright, the next thing I want to do is create our pages, and we'll add content to our pages here in a moment, but first I want to create them so that we can add them to our menu. To create pages, let's go back to the back end, and I can exit out of this since we've already saved those changes. And let's go to Pages and click on All Pages. And I do want to point out that by default, a fresh WordPress installation does come with this sample page. We can delete this sample page by hovering over it and click on Trash. Now that won't delete it permanently. We could go back to the Trash folder and hover over it and click on the Restore option. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is. Now to create new pages, you would go to Pages and click on Add New, or you can click on Add New here. And we want to give our page a title. This is going to be the Frequently Asked Questions page. Give it a title, and then we're just going to click on Publish. And again, we're going to be adding content to all of our pages here in just a moment. Alright, let's add a new page. This is going to be our contact page. We'll call it Contact Us. Click on Publish. Let's add new, and this is going to be our About page. We'll call this About Us and Publish. Then let's add a new page. This is going to be our Testimonials page. Publish that. And now let's add new and 3 more we're going to create. This is going to be our Portfolio page. Publish that. Then I'm going to add a new page, and we're going to call this Blog, and this is completely optional, and we're going to go over all the blog settings here in just a little while, but for now we need to create the blog page. Publish that. And then our last page is going to be the home page. So let's click on Add New. We'll call it Home and publish that. Now we can view all of our pages by going to Pages and click on All Pages. And here we have a list of all the pages we just created. Now let's view the front end of our site. And before I refresh the page to show you the updates, I just want you to notice the sample page here is showing up. Now when I refresh the page, because we deleted the sample page, it's no longer showing up, and also all the pages that we did create are automatically added to our main navigation menu, and this is what most WordPress themes do by default. They automatically add pages to your menu if you haven't created a menu, and we want to have complete control over what appears in our navigation menus and what order they appear in. So to do that, let's go back to the back end, and let's go to Appearance and click on Menus. And we need to create a new menu, and let's call this Main Navigation Menu. And then click on Create Menu. And then I want to come up to Screen Options and click on that and make sure that all of these are checked. And then we can click on Screen Options to minimize that. Now that gives us all these additional options here. And the first thing we want to do is add menu items to our main navigation menu. So we're going to add the Home page, the blog page, the portfolio, testimonials, and about us, and click on add to menu. Okay, and then if we save the menu, and actually we need to assign this menu that we just created, the main navigation menu, we need to assign it to a specified place on our theme, and different WordPress themes will have different areas where a menu can go. And you can see with the Divi theme we have 3 locations for a menu. We have the primary menu, we have the secondary menu, and we have the footer menu. I want to go ahead and assign this as the primary menu, so I'm going to click on that, and I want it to also be on my footer, so I'm going to click there as well and click on Save Menu again. And now if I go back and view the front end of my site and refresh the page, only the menu items that we added to that menu are showing up now. And if we scroll down, these same menu items are going to be in our footer as our footer menu. Alright, let's go back, and let's say I wanted to rearrange the menu items. What I could do is click on the one I wanted to move and hold and drag and then release that, just like that, and that would put the blog after the portfolio menu item. I'm just going to leave it the way it was though by click, holding, and dragging. And also if you click on this arrow next to each menu item, it'll drop down an option you can change. By default it'll take the title of the page, but you can change that so that it says whatever you want it to say as in the actual menu. You would do that here. And also if you're having trouble with the drag and drop functionality, if that's not working for you, then you can click this arrow and you can move manually using these options. So if we wanted to move it above home, we could do that just like that, but again we'll leave that where it was. And now to create a drop down menu, let's say we wanted to be able to hover over home on the menu and then have it display blog as a children item or as a child item underneath home. We could click, hold, and drag and move that over just like that. And if we save the menu and then view the front end and refresh our website, when we hover over home we can get access to the blog menu item and click on blog, and that would take us to the blog page. Alright, let's go back, and I'm going to move that back to where it was so that it's not a child menu item. Let's say we wanted to delete one of our menu items from our menu. All you would have to do is click on the arrow and click on the remove button, and that would take it away. And of course we'll add that back. Click on add to menu and move that back where it was there. And another thing I want to point out, this is a pretty cool feature. If you want to have a menu item that's not associated with a particular page on your website, you can certainly do that. Let's say we wanted to create a menu item that went, we'll use google.com as the example. First of all, go to screen options, and we've already done this, but I just want to point out you do have to make sure that the links option is checked. And then we can come down here and click on links, and we want to call this Google. That's what we want the menu item to say. And we put in the URL that's going to be http://google.com. We'll do www.google.com. And if you copy and paste a URL in here, make sure that you don't have http:// in there twice. That's a common mistake. Go ahead and click on add to menu, and we'll just leave it at the bottom. Now when we save the menu and come back and view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh the page, we now have this Google option, and when we click on that, it takes us straight to Google. Let's go ahead and go back, and I want to show you how to create a drop down where the primary menu item doesn't go anywhere, but you want people to be able to hover over it, and then it would bring up the children items underneath it. What we would do is go back, and let's go ahead and remove the Google item by clicking on the arrow and click on remove. What we could do is also, just like we did with the Google link, we could create another link, and we want to call this, I'll just say hover to display. You can call it whatever you want, of course. And then for the URL, we're just going to remove what's there and put in the pound symbol and click on add to menu. And then when let's say I want to put about us underneath it, I would put it underneath it and then drag it over here so that it is a drop down menu. Click on Save Menu. And now when we go back and refresh the front end of our WordPress site, when you hover over hover to display, it does display the About Us, but when I click on hover to display, I'm clicking on it right now and it doesn't go anywhere. So that's just a neat trick that you can use. All right, let's go back and change that to the way it was and create our secondary navigation menu. I'm just going to go ahead and hover over this, click on the arrow and remove that, and then that automatically turns back into a parent menu item. I'm going to save that change, and then to create a new menu, just click on create a new menu there, and I'll call this secondary menu, and click on create menu. And by the way, if you're adding pages, by default it will give you the most recent pages. If for whatever reason your page isn't showing up, just click on view all there and it would show all your pages. And this time I'm going to add my frequently asked questions page and my contact page. So I'm going to check those and click on add to menu. And I'm going to leave those in that order, and I want to rename my frequently asked questions page to just FAQS. Do that just like that, and then I can click on the arrow and that change should take effect. And actually, let's go ahead and I'll just rearrange these just like that. And then I need to assign it. I've already got my main navigation menu that we've created assigned to the primary menu slot and to the footer menu slot, so I can put this one in the secondary menu slot. So that's what I'm going to do. Click on Save Menu, and the secondary menu is what's going to appear above our main navigation menu and to the far right. So if we go back and view the front end of our site and refresh, we now have our secondary menu items showing up, and when we click on these, they of course take us to our pages. And just so you know, if you do need to make changes to your menu items after you've created them, just go back to the back end and you would go to Appearance Menus, of course, and you would just select the menu that you want to edit. We've only got 2 that we've created, but if you had multiple menus beyond 2, they would all show up here, and you would just select the one that you wanted and click on Select, and that would open up that menu there. Alright, now let's set up our home page, and I want to point out, let's go to the front end of our site. When we just type in our domain name, which is photo.quickwebsitecreation.com, and click on enter, we could also just click on the logo there to take us to the home page. By default, WordPress uses your blog as your home page, and blog of course is completely optional, but in our case I want to set up the home page to be the page we created called home, and I'm going to have a separate page called blog that's going to show our blog posts, and we'll get into that later in the video. But to control those settings, let's go back to the back end and scroll down to Settings and click on Reading. And like I mentioned, by default your front page is set to display your latest posts. Let's go ahead and click on, we want our front page to display a static page. Click on that, and then where it says front page, I'm going to select the page we created called Home. And if you don't want to have a blog, you would just leave where it says post page, just leave it to select there. But in our case, we do want to have a blog, so we're going to select blog, and then we're going to come down and click on Save Changes and come to the front end of our site. Now when I refresh the page, it's going to show our home page just like that, and you can see the URL is just my domain name. And when I click on blog, it's going to show that sample blog post that came with WordPress. And just remember, we'll go over everything you need to know about blog settings later in the video. Alright, now let's add content to our frequently asked questions page. So to do that, let's go back to the back end of our WordPress website, and we're going to go to Pages, All Pages, and let's go ahead and open up our frequently asked questions page by clicking on it there. Alright, when you create a new page or blog post with WordPress, the standard default option to add content to your pages or posts is to use the visual editor, which is what you see here, and it functions much like a word processor would. And then you also have access to the text editor, which is what you see here, and this is where you would put actual HTML code. And with the visual editor, you can toggle the toolbar, which is right here, and get access to more formatting options. We're going to get into the visual editor in much more detail when we create our blog posts, but for all of our other pages we're going to be using the page builder, and this is something that's unique to the Divi theme. And by using the page builder, we're going to have much more control over the layout of our individual pages, as well as much more control over the content of our pages, because we're going to have access to all the modules that come with the Divi theme that you can use by using the page builder. Alright, to switch to the page builder, go ahead and click on Use Page Builder. And by default, that's going to add a normal section, which is the blue box you see here, and within that section is a row, which is the green box you see. The first thing we need to do is determine how many columns we want to have within this first row. So go ahead and click on Insert Columns. And we have all these different options, and you can scroll down for more. Just to keep things simple for now, for the Frequently Asked Questions page, we're just going to use one column. So I'm going to select that here. And then the next thing we need to do is insert a module. So click on that. And modules are really amazing because they give us access to all kinds of different functionality, and they're unique to the Divi theme through Elegant Themes. So we have all these different modules to choose from, and we're going to be working with quite a few of these as we progress through the video. The first thing I want to do on our FAQ page is add a text module. So I'm going to click on Text, and I want the text to be dark, and I want the text to be centered within our column. So I'm going to choose that option. Then I'm going to scroll down, and this is just like what we saw with the visual editor a moment ago. I'm going to add the title Frequently Asked Questions. And then I'm going to select this, and again, make sure that you have the toolbar toggled there so we have access to these formatting options. With this text selected, I'm going to choose the heading 1 tag. This is going to make my text a lot bigger and bolder. And then I'm going to click on Save. And the reason I'm adding this text module is because when we switch to the page builder, the title of our page will no longer appear on our page in the front end of our site by default. So we need to add that manually. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add the accordion module within the same column beneath our text modules. So go ahead and click on Insert Modules. And we're going to come down, scroll down a little bit, and we'll find the accordion module there. Just click on that. And then we need to add our first item. Click on Add New Item. And we are going to put in for the title the first question that we have for our FAQ page, and I've got that here. I'm just going to copy and paste these in, and then I'm going to click on my content section here and copy and paste the answer to the question. Do that, and then I'm going to click on Save, and then I'm going to do this 2 more times with the other questions. Just bear with me for a moment while I copy and paste these in. Paste that in and click on Save, and we'll do one more. And then we'll click on Save there, and then we'll click on Save to save the module. And then we need to publish the page, or rather update it since we've already published it originally. So click on Update to save these changes. And now let's go back and view the front end of our WordPress site, and let's click on our FAQ page here in the menu. Alright, you can see that we have the title that we put in with the text module, and like we specified, that is showing up centered, and it is a heading 1. You can see it's larger than the other text on the page. And then we have our accordion module here, and when we click on these, it'll display the answers to the questions, just like that. And let's go back to the Frequently Asked Questions page editor, and I want to point out 2 things. First of all, when you're inserting a module, let's just click on that just to show you. The way I scroll to get access to the ones that are not showing up on the screen right now is just using the scroll function on my mouse, just like that. If for some reason you don't have that functionality, what you can do is click within the white area, anywhere in the white area, and then use the up and down arrows on your keypad to scroll, just like that. That might be something some of you might run into. And then the other thing is, notice that the modules by default, when we're working with the page editor or the page builder, they take the title of the module. So the accordion module is called the accordion. Well, let's say you're working on a page and you've got multiple accordions on the page, and you want to be able to easily access each individual one if you want to make changes to it, and you want it to be easier to find. You can change the title of the module, and we can click on this edit button here, and you can change it right here, and this is the admin label. So let's call this the FAQ accordion, and click on Save. And as you probably just noticed, if you do need to make changes to these modules, this button here with the 3 horizontal lines, that is the edit button, and that'll take you right back to where you were when you first created the module. And if you needed to make changes, you could do that and then click on the Save button. And then to remove the modules, all you have to do is press the X button. And then the last thing I want to point out is that none of the changes that you make here, even if you're pressing Save after you add the module, none of the changes will actually take effect on the front end of your site until you click on the Update button here. So if you do something on accident, you accidentally delete a module or something like that, and you don't want the change to be saved, then all you need to do is just click on this button to go back to all your pages and then reopen it up again, or you can just refresh the page that you're on. So again, it is very important to update the page if you do want the changes to take effect, and since we did just change the module title there, the admin label, I'm going to click on Update. Alright, now let's add content to our contact page. So to do that, let's go to All Pages, and then click on Contact Us to open up the contact page in the page editor. And then we're going to click on Use Page Builder. And the first thing we're going to do is put in our actual contact form on the contact page. And let's go ahead and click on Insert Columns. And because I want my contact form to take up the full width of the page, I'm just going to use one column. So I'm going to click on that. And then we need to click on Insert Modules. And let's scroll down to find the contact form. There it is right there. Click on that. And the first thing you have is an option to display the CAPTCHA, and this is a good thing to include if you want to prevent spam comments. So we're going to leave that on the default option. Then the email, this is where you put in the email address that you have where you want these contact forms to actually be sent to. So I'm just going to use mockphotography@wpsculptor.com. And then the title, this is what's going to appear above your contact form, and I've got a title that I'm going to copy and paste in there. Just paste that in. And then the admin label, of course, we'll just leave that as it is and go ahead and click on Save. And we'll update the page. Alright, let's go ahead and view the front end of our site and view our contact form page just to see the contact form. And I'm going to click on the Contact Us button on the tab, and here's what our form looks like. We have the title of the form, and then we have a space automatically generated for people to input their name, their email address, and their message, and then here's the optional CAPTCHA. Alright, let's go back to the page editor, and this time I want to add a map underneath our contact form, and I want that to take up 2/3 of the available space, and then with the remaining third on the right, I want to have a text module, and I want to have our address and our phone number within it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new row, click on Add Row, and this time we're going to click on Insert Columns, and we're going to find the option that fits the criteria I just described. So right here you see that we have 2/3 of the available space on the left, and then we have the remaining 1/3 on the right. That's the option I want to select, so I'm going to click on that. And then to add my map module, I'm going to click on Insert Modules here. Click on that. Then I'm going to scroll down, find the map module right here, and click on that. And the first thing we need to do is add a new pin, and this is where you would put your location. So I'm going to click on Add New Pin, and I'm going to give this a title and just call it Our Location. And then you need to put in your address, and I've just got a sample address here. I'm just going to copy and paste this in. And click on Find. And then if we scroll down, again you can click here in the white space, just click with your mouse and then use the arrows on your keypad. You can scroll down. That's going to find your address. Go ahead and click on Save. And if you had multiple locations, you could add an additional pin here. We're just going to leave it with the one location for now. And then the next thing you have to do is choose a map center address, and this is what's going to actually appear on your page. So what I'm going to do is paste in the exact same address and click on Find, and then I'm going to scroll down, and you can use this feature right here to zoom in and out and show the map how you want it to be shown on the front end of your site. So if you want to zoom out and show a larger view of your city, you could do that, or if you wanted to zoom in, you could do that there, and you can click, hold, and drag and position the map just how you want it to be. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I want people to be able to see the greater area of Denver, and then I'm going to move my map just like that. That's how I want it to appear, and you can see this red arrow here is what is showing where our location is. Go ahead and click on Save. And then the next thing we're going to do is insert a text module here. So go ahead and click on Insert Modules. And I'm going to select the text module here. Click on that. And I'm going to leave the text color dark. And I'm going to leave the orientation to the left. Scroll down. And the first thing I'm going to put in is our address is, I'm just going to type that in, colon. And I'm going to select that. And choose the, actually I'm going to leave it as a paragraph. And I'm just going to bold it by clicking on the bold button. Then I'm going to push enter on my keypad and paste in the exact address and push enter again, and then I'm going to say our phone number is, type that out, colon, and then select that and make that bold as well, and then click here and then press enter on my keypad and type in the phone number, and then I'm going to click on save. And then I'm going to update the page. And now if we view our contact form page on the front end of our site and refresh it, you'll see that just like we specified, we have 2/3 of our available space here is the map, and you can see how it's being displayed, just how I zoomed out and wanted to show a larger part of Denver. And then the remaining 1/3 is our text module showing our address and our phone number. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is go back and add content to our About page. So to do that, let's go back to the back end of our WordPress site, go to Pages, click on All Pages, and then click on About Us to open up the About page in the page editor. And of course we are going to be using the page builder, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that there. Alright, now what I want to do first here is add a section that has text and a background image. So to get all of my, or almost all of my images, I use a wonderful free resource, and I'm just going to exit out of this and open up a new tab, and that is pixabay.com. So go ahead and go to pixabay.com. And what's great about Pixabay is they have incredibly high quality images that you can use completely for free for any of your projects, commercial or not, and you don't even have to leave an attribution to the original photographer. It's really an amazing resource. And what I did for this particular image, I wanted a canvas background, so I just searched for canvas. And I do want to point out these images are not free. These are sponsored images, and they'll have the sponsored images text there. But all these other images are completely free to use. So I just searched for canvas, and this is the one I wanted to use, so I clicked on that. And then all you have to do is download the image, and you have several different options with the different sizes. And a general rule of thumb that I like to use is I almost always I should say, use the 1280 pixel wide option, or the one that's closest to that. And the reason I do that is because that's larger than I will generally need the image to actually be on my website. And you can always shrink images on your site without losing quality, but you can't enlarge images without losing some quality. So I generally go with the larger option. And most WordPress themes, especially Divi, is really great about resizing the images to fit appropriately on your site. So what you would do is select the size option you want and just click on download and type in the caption. Just click on download there, and it would download to your computer. And I've got all my images downloaded and renamed and put into various folders here. If I open up the About folder, you'll see that I've got this the orange canvas background we were just looking at. I'm going to click on that and show you that I do have the 1280 pixel wide image downloaded. Alright, so let's go back to the back end of our site. The first thing we'll do is add our text module. So I'm going to click on Insert Columns, and I just want to use one column for this section. So I'm going to click on the one column option. Then I'm going to click on Insert Modules, and I'm going to click on Text. And I do want the text, actually I want the text to be light because it's going to be going on an orange canvas background, and I think the white text will look a lot better than the dark text on that. I'm going to leave the orientation to the left. Then I'm going to copy and paste the content that I want to use right there. Paste that in, and then I'm going to select it, and I do want to make this a heading 1, so it's bigger and bolder. And don't worry about how it kind of seems to overlap there. It's not going to show up that way on our site. Then I'm going to select it again, and I want to make this italic. So I'm going to click on italic there. All right, and then click on Save. And then to add the background image to our section, what we're going to do is click on the edit button within the section, and the section is represented by this blue box here, and it contains all of our rows and columns and our modules. So we're going to click on the edit button, which again is the 3 horizontal lines. Click on that, and then the first option is the background image. So I'm going to click on upload an image, and I'm going to click on select files, and then I need to find the files on my hard drive, and I know that they're all saved in a folder on my desktop, so I'm going to open that up. And the image that I want to use for my background is right here, so I'm going to click there and click on open, and then I'm going to click on set as background. Then scroll down, and you do want to make sure transparent background color is turned off. And I also want to point out you could choose to use a background color for your section instead of actually a background image, and you could just choose all the colors available. We'll get into that specifically when we add content to our home page. We'll just leave it to the background image, and I'm going to click on save, and then I'm going to click on update to actually save that change on my about page. And now if we view the front end of our site and click on our About Us page in our menu, you'll see that we have our heading section here with the text that we added with the text module, and then we have this background image. And of course, because we don't have a lot of content on the page currently, our footer menu has scooted up, but when we add more content, this won't be an issue. Alright, let's go back to the back end of our WordPress site, to the page editor, and we're going to add what are called the team member modules, and I want to add these below our text module. And just like our text module, I want the team member modules also to be just one column, and of course that's completely arbitrary. It's up to you how you want to do that, and you can experiment with different layouts. But here's the thing, I could add the team member modules right here directly beneath the text module, but the problem with that is that they would be contained within the same section that has the orange canvas background, so they would therefore take on the exact same canvas background as our text module does. And since I want our team member modules just to be a transparent blank background, I need to add a new section to do that. So I'm going to click on add section, and then click on insert columns, and like I said, we're going to use just one column for the team member modules. And then I need to click on insert modules, and I'm going to scroll down and click on the team member module here to add that in. And for the first one, I'm going to put in John Doe and co-founder. And then I need to click on upload an image. And again, I got this image directly from Pixabay. I think I searched for self-portrait. Click on upload files. Click on select files. And I'm going to click on self-portrait there. And I do want to point out that the alt text, caption, and description, you can choose to put in the appropriate text there that describes whatever your image is representing. And that's good for search engine optimization, because Google and Yahoo and Bing, search engines like that, they can't read images, so having descriptive text is a good idea, but we're going to skip that step for the sake of time. And then click on set as image, then scroll down. And a lot of the modules do come with this animation feature if you choose to activate it, and you have different options there. You can experiment with that, and we'll go over that a little bit later when we get to the home page. And the text color, I'm going to leave that to dark. And then you can put in the social media links to your individual team members if you choose to. And I'm just going to copy and paste Facebook and Google here for our John Doe founder. And you would just paste in their actual Facebook URL and Twitter URL if you wanted to use that. And scroll down, and this is where we add our description. And I've already got that typed out here. I'm just going to copy and paste that in. And then click on Save. And click on Update. And if we go back and view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you'll see that we now have our first team member module, and this is how it works here when you're using a one-column layout for the module. It puts the image on the left here with the name, the position, and the description, and then the social media links. Now let's go back to the page editor, and I want to show you what would have happened if we actually would have put the module within our first section that has the canvas background. Here's a cool trick. This button is the edit button for the module. This button here with the two window looking icons duplicates the module. So if we click on that, it automatically adds the exact same module with the same picture, all the same settings, the same text, and it puts it in the same section here. Now if we click, hold, and drag and move this up into our top section underneath our text module, and then click on update, and then view the front of our site and refresh the page, you'll see that we have our text module here with the canvas background, and then we have our team member module on the same background. Of course, that doesn't look very good, which is why I wanted to add a separate section for that. So let's go back, and we're going to delete that by just clicking on X, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to duplicate the team member module again because I want to add the Jane Doe team member module. And now that we have that duplicated, I can click on the edit button here and just change some of these settings. I'm going to leave co-founder in, then I'm going to upload a different image by clicking on upload an image, and click on upload files, click on select files, and this portrait right here is the image that I want to use. Click on open, and I think I searched for portrait on Pixabay to find this particular image. Click on set as image, then scroll down, and I don't want any animation. I do want the text to be dark, just like the John Doe team member module. And then let's just add the Google Plus URL for our Jane Doe here. Copy and paste that in. And for the description, I'm going to select all that, delete it, and add this here. Paste that in. Click on save, and then click on update. And then let's view our about page again and click on refresh. And you can see we have the Jane Doe module appearing directly beneath the John Doe module. And the last thing I want to show you is what the team member modules would look like if you chose to use multiple columns instead of having each one on its own column, or on one column. Let's go back to the back end real quick, scroll down, and I'm going to add a new row. Add row, and then I'm going to click on insert columns, and I'm going to use this 1/2 option. Click on that, and then I'm just going to duplicate each one of these team member modules by clicking on the duplicate button, and then I'm going to drag that and release to put it there, and then I'm going to do the same with our Jane Doe team member module here. Duplicate that, and then click, hold, and drag and release it. I might need to scroll down a little bit. Click, hold, drag, release it there. There we go. And then if I update the page and go back to the front end of our site, refresh, you can see that this is what it would look like if you chose to use that setting. But I think this looks a little better the way we have it. So I'll just go back and delete this, scroll down, and I can just delete this entire row by clicking on the X there, and then just update to save that change. Alright, now let's add content to our testimonials page. So go to pages, click on all pages, and then click on testimonials to open up the testimonials page in the page editor. And then of course we're going to click on use page builder. And the first thing we're going to do is insert a text module, and we want it to be one column. So I'm going to click on insert columns and click on the one column option. Then click on insert modules and click on text. And I'm just going to add this text here. I do want it to be dark, and I want it to be centered, so I'm going to click on centered, and I'm going to scroll down and paste in the text that I want there. Select it, and I do want this to be a heading 1, and click on save. And then I need to add a new row because I want to have 3 different columns within my row. So I'm going to click on add a row, and I can do this within the same section. That's just fine. Click on insert columns, and I'm going to choose this option with 3 equally sized columns there, and then I'm going to click on insert modules, and I'm going to find my testimonials module, click on testimonial, and the first thing we're going to do is add a name, and I'm going to use myself for this example. Put that in. I'm going to leave job title blank. For the company name, I'm going to use WP Sculptor, and I'm going to put in my web address. Scroll down, and I'm going to leave URL opens in the same window. That's fine. You can experiment with that option. For the portrait image, click on Upload an Image, and I'm going to click on Upload Files, and click on Select Files, and I'm going to find the image that I want to use. It's going to be in my testimonials folder there. And this is the same picture that I have on my YouTube channel. And I do want to point out this is a very, very small image. It's only 100 by 100 pixels. And usually I use larger images, but for the testimonials module, I know that it displays the image in a very small way. So this is going to be just fine. So click on Set as Image. And again, don't worry about how it looks blurry there. It's not going to appear that way on the site because it's going to be much smaller than that. Then scroll down, and I do like to display the quote icon. I think that looks sharp. And I do want to use background color to yes. If you didn't want to have a background color and you just wanted it to be blank, you would just say no. I want to have a background color, and I'm just going to leave it to the default option, which is a light gray. And for the text color, and this is also going to be the same color as our quote icon, I like the dark look a little bit better. And I do want the text orientation to the left, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to copy and paste the testimonial quote that I have here. Select that, copy and paste that in, and then I'm going to click on Save, and then I'm going to update the page. And then let's view the front end of our site and click on our testimonials menu there. And you see we have our text module here, which looks good, and then this is what the testimonial module looks like. We have our picture with the contents of the testimonial, the actual quote. This is the quote icon. You can see it's the darker text and the darker icon. And then my business title is actually a link to my website. I can click on that and be taken to my website there. Well, let's go back. And let's go back to the back end and add two more testimonial modules. So I'm going to click on, I'm actually just going to duplicate this, just like we did with our team member modules previously. Click on duplicate, and then I'm going to click, hold, and drag that in place there. And then I'm going to click on the edit icon and just change a few things. This will be John Doe, and it'll be John Doe and Associates. Will be the company name. I'm just going to leave job title blank. And I'm going to leave the URL blank, so just delete that, and I'm going to click on Upload an Image to replace this image. And since I already have the image I want to use added to my media library, I can just click on it. I don't have to upload it again, so I'm going to click on that, click on Set as Image, scroll down. I want all these settings to be the same, and then I want to change the testimonial. Copy and paste this in here. Click on Save, and then I'm going to duplicate this testimonial module and click, hold, and drag and release that here in this column. Click on the edit icon, change this to Jane Doe, and change this to Jane Doe and Associates. Scroll down, and click on Upload an Image to replace this image, and then I'm going to use this one. Click on Set as Image. Then I'm going to scroll down, and all these settings are going to be the same, and I'm even going to leave this testimonial the same. Click on Save, and click on Update to save these changes. And now let's view the front end of our WordPress website, and click on Refresh. And you can see that we have all three of our testimonial modules in place. Alright, now let's add our photo galleries to our portfolio page. So let's go back to the back end of our WordPress website and click on Pages, All Pages. And we're going to click on Portfolio to open up that page in the page editor. And click on Use Page Builder. And the first thing we're going to do is add a text module, and we need one column, so click on Insert Columns, and then I'm going to click on the one column option. Click on Insert Modules, and we're going to click on Text. And I want the text to be dark, and I want it to be centered. So I'm going to change the text orientation there, and then scroll down. And I've got the content here. Photo galleries of our work is going to be the first line of text. I'm going to paste that in, select it, and choose heading 1. And then I'm going to click here, and then click on Enter on my keypad. And then paste in the second line of text that I want to include. Copy that, paste it in there, and then I'm going to select that, make that a heading 2 this time so it's not quite as big, and then I'm going to click on Save. And then we need to insert our gallery module, and I also want this to be one column, so I want it to take up the full width of available space there, so I can use the same row. I'm going to click on Insert Module, and there are two types of galleries. Just go ahead and click on Gallery. Right here we have the layout. You have the slider layout and you have the grid layout. The first one we're going to use is the slider layout, and we'll be using both of these. Click on Slider, or leave it to Slider. And we need to add our gallery images, so click on Update Gallery. And since we don't have our images in our media library yet, click on Upload Files, click on Select Files, and we're going to find the images that we want in our gallery on our computer. And I've got them in a folder right here, Portfolio Gallery 1. And I'm going to click on this one and then press Shift on my keypad and hold Shift, and click on this last one to select all of those, and click on Open. And it's going to add all of those images by default to my photo gallery. Alright, and then click on Add to Gallery. And I just want to show you real quick how to, if you wanted to rearrange the order of these pictures, you could click, hold, and drag to rearrange them just like that. And you would let go, of course. I would let go right there to move that image. And you could hover over and press the X if you wanted to remove any of these images. Also, you could add captions to these images, and this doesn't really matter for using the slider layout. They won't show up, but using the grid layout, we'll get into that in a moment. And then click on Update Gallery. And the image number, this doesn't matter when we're using the slider layout. We'll just leave it to the default. Show title and caption, again, that doesn't matter for the slider layout. That will affect the grid layout though. Pagination, the same thing, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to use light text, so I'm going to select that, and I'll show you why in just a moment. And then all these other options we'll leave to the default. Click on Save. And let's go ahead and update the page. Click on Update there. And then we'll view the front end of our website. And click on Portfolio. Alright, and you can see we have the title that we put in with the text module, and then if we scroll down, you see that we have our gallery here, and we can use these arrows to navigate to see the different images within the gallery. And the reason we chose light text is because you see here the arrows are white. If we would have chosen dark, they would have been hard to see. So I like the way the light looks. And also, if you're not clicking on the arrows, you can click on the actual image to open this up in a light box and see it just like that, and you can scroll through this way. So pretty cool feature there. Alright, let's go back and let's add our second photo gallery. Let's go back to the page editor. And before I do that, actually, I want to insert a really neat module. It's really simple, but go ahead and click on Insert Modules. It's called a divider module. So I'm going to click on that and then find the divider module and click on Divider. And basically what a divider is going to do, it's going to add a thin horizontal line to separate the content on our page. And I just think this is a really easy way to increase the level of professionalism of a website. So what we need to first do is select a color for our line by clicking on Select Color there. And you have all these different color options you can choose from, and you can click, hold, and move your cursor around just like this and change the lightness and darkness here. I'm just going to click on the black option and move this up to a really light gray. That'll work. And then I'm going to click out in this white just to make sure that change takes effect. And then for visibility, we do want to show the divider so that the line actually shows up. So click on that and click on Show Divider. And all these other options we'll just leave to the default settings and click on Save. Alright, and then underneath our divider, let's add another text module. So I'm just going to duplicate the one that we have by clicking on the duplicate icon there. And then I'm going to click on the edit icon next to this, or over this text module, to change the text. I'm going to leave these settings the same, scroll down, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this first line. And then click here and then press the delete key to move that up. And then I'm going to change this text to pictures of man-made structures. Paste that in. Select that text, and I'm going to make that a heading 2. Click on that and then click on Save. And then let's add another module. We're going to add our additional gallery module. Click on Insert Modules, click on Gallery. And this time we are going to be using the grid layout, so I'm going to click on Slider and change that to Grid. And then click on Update Gallery, because we need to add the images to our gallery that we want to use. We're going to click on Upload Files, click on Select Files, and I've got these all in a folder called Portfolio Gallery 2, so I'm going to click on the first one, hold Shift on my keypad and click on the last one to select all of these, click on Open. And then we're going to click on Add to Gallery. And for some reason, as you can see, we not only do we have the images that we just added to our gallery, but we also have the images in our other gallery, and we don't want both of these sets of images contained within our grid layout gallery. So let's hover over each one of these images that we don't want, and we're going to click on X to delete it. So for this one, for all of these, I'm just going to click on the X. Alright, these are the 5 images that we want to use for the grid layout gallery. And just so you know, if you did need to add additional images to your gallery, you could click on Add to Gallery here, and then you would upload and add those additional images. And also, if you wanted to use captions with the grid layout, you can. And this is where you would type in your captions for your images if you wanted those to display on the front end of your WordPress website. Alright, we're just going to leave it the way it is. And before I update this gallery, I just want to remind you to rearrange these images. You can click on the image, hold and drag and release to move those images like that. We'll just leave it the way it is. And then I'm going to click on Update Gallery. And for the images number, since we have 5 images and I want all of my images in the gallery to display on one page, this needs to be at least 5, so I'll just use 10. And I'm not going to show any titles and captions, so I'm just going to change this to no. If you did have captions that you wanted to display, you would leave that to yes. Then I'm going to scroll down, and all these other options we'll just leave to the default setting and click on Save. And then let's click on Update to update the page, the portfolio page. Alright, and now if we view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh our portfolio page, scroll down, you see that we have our original gallery in place. And here's what this divider looks like. And then we have our text module, our second text module. And we have our grid layout gallery. And when we click on these images, it also opens up in a light box. And we can use the arrows to scroll through just like this. Alright, now we're going to create our logo. But before we do that, we first need to determine what color options we have to work with, so we don't have to just stick with this plain orange color. So I'm going to show you several different resources that I like to use when trying to determine a good color scheme. We've already selected the orange color scheme, so this orange color is going to be our base color, and we need to find other colors that go well with this orange color. And to do that, we first need to determine exactly what shade this orange color is. So to do that, I'm going to open a new tab and show you a tool. Let's go ahead and go to google.com. This is a tool called Colorzilla, so just search for Colorzilla. It should be the first option that pops up, colorzilla.com. Click on that. And click on Colorzilla for Firefox and Chrome. And you can download the version for Firefox and for Chrome here, and you would just click on Install Colorzilla and follow the instructions. And of course I am using the Firefox browser, but again it works for either the Firefox browser or the Chrome browser. And once you have that installed, we'll go back to the front end of our website. You can activate the Colorzilla tool by either clicking on this icon here, and also by going to Tools, Colorzilla, and clicking on Eyedropper. And that's going to activate the Eyedropper tool. And this is really cool because everywhere we move our cursor, it's going to tell us exactly what color our cursor is over. So in this case, we're just over a pure white. And if you look at the top center of my screen, you see the pound followed by 6 Fs in a row. Those 6 Fs represent what's called a hex code. And that hex code corresponds to the exact color that I'm hovering over. So in this case, pure white is 6 Fs. And if we move our cursor over this orange, which is what we really want to determine, you see that I have pound EDB059, and that is the hex code that corresponds to this orange color. So I'm going to click right there, and that's going to copy that hex code to my clipboard. And now I'm going to come over here and go to a different website, and that is cooler.adobe.com. Color spelled K-U-L-E-R. let's go there. And this is a great tool because this uses all the different color theories to determine different colors that are compatible with our base color. And let's come down, and in the center section I want to select this hex code that's already in place, delete it, and then paste in our hex code for the orange color and click on enter. And this is the exact orange shade that we have on our website. And if we scroll up, and under color rule, you have all these different options. For example, we can click on complementary, and we have all these different complementary colors that go well, and the hex code for each one of these right here. And you can just experiment with all these different shades, different color rule options. And we'll just leave it to complementary for now. Now, all the colors I'm going to use for this video tutorial, I'm going to get straight from this Adobe app, the color.adobe.com app. But I do want to show you another resource that I've used and I still use today pretty frequently. And let's just open a new tab, and that is colorlovers.com, and color is spelled C-O-L-O-U-R. Let's go ahead and go there. And then go to Browse and click on Palettes. And what you can do here is, this won't quite be an exact science, but we do have a general idea of how our orange looks on our website. So what you could do is find color palettes that other people have created that use a similar orange, and if it looks good, then chances are the colors should be more or less compatible with what your base color is. For example, this one here, that orange is probably definitely a little different than what we have on our website, but this brown would probably work very well with what we have on our site, and these other colors as well. So what you would do, you can scroll through, and there are tons and tons of palettes to browse through, but you could find one that you liked, and then you could just click on it, and that's going to open it up. And if you scroll down, you see the hex code for each of the different shades that go with the color. That would be right there. So this isn't going to be an exact science, but for those of you that love to be more creative, that's a good tool for you to use, colorlovers.com. But again, we're just going to use the color wheel at Adobe. So I'm going to exit out of this. Now, to create our logo, I'm going to use two different free online applications. Now, the first one I'm going to use is called Pixlr.com. And the reason I'm using Pixlr is because I need to create a blank canvas for my logo so that I can have a transparent background when we create the rest of the logo with the other application we'll be using. And you want a transparent background for your logo so that you can put it on your website, and the background will be exactly the same as your header, which in our case is going to be white. But if you wanted to change your header color and you had a white background for your logo, it wouldn't look good, and you would have to go back and recreate your logo with the different background color. So this is just going to save a lot of hassle and be more versatile and more professional in my opinion. And for some reason, the other application we'll be using, which is called PicMonkey.com, you either can't create a blank transparent background, or I just haven't been able to figure that out. So we're just going to do this first part with Pixlr real quick, and then we'll actually add our font and make an icon with PicMonkey. Alright, so I'm going to open up Pixlr in a different tab. We definitely want to keep the color wheel tab open because we're going to be using some of these colors here. I'll just use the Pixabay tab. So go ahead and go to Pixlr.com, Pixlr.com. And then scroll down, and underneath the Pixlr editor, click on Launch Web App. And then we're going to click on Create a New Image. And we need to specify the height and width, and you might need to do some trial and error to figure this out. I'm going to use 400 pixels wide by 50 pixels high. And you might want to err on the side of too large when you're creating your blank canvas with Pixlr, because we can always crop the image. We can always crop our logo when we create it with PicMonkey. So go ahead and set that and click on OK. And you can see here we have our canvas here, but it's not blank yet, it's still white. And to make this completely transparent, we need to come over here underneath layers, and next to background we need to double click on this lock icon, and then we need to click on this check mark to uncheck it. And when I do that, you can see that that white is no longer part of our canvas, and we have this checkered background, and this checkered background simply represents a transparent background. So the final thing we need to do is go to File and click on Save, and we're going to give this a name. We'll call it Mock Photography Canvas, and then the format has to be a PNG for this to save in as a transparent canvas. So we need to select PNG, and then click on OK. And we need to specify a place on our hard drive to save this, and I'm going to come over and go to my desktop and save it in my images folder. Click on save. Just make sure you save it somewhere you can find it. And then we're going to open up a new tab and go to picmonkey.com and click on edit. And then we need to find the file on our hard drive where we saved the canvas, the blank canvas we just created. Let's see, I've got it right here in my images folder. I'm going to open that up. And you see here we have our blank canvas. And now what we need to do is come over and click on this text icon here to activate the text tool. Alright, and then click on add text. And you can see we have this really small text box that we created. We can click, hold, and drag to move this over to the left side of our canvas. And then I can click and use these points on the corners to click, hold, and drag to expand the text box. We'll just leave it like that for now. And then I can double click inside the text box to actually add text. And right now I'm just going to add the word mock, because our logo is going to say mock photography. And then what I need to do is select the text by selecting it like that, click, holding, and dragging to select it. And I'm going to come over here to the left and find a font that I want to use called Marcel Script. And it's just going to be right here, so I'm just going to click on that. And that's going to change the font here. And now I need to come over here and change the font size. And I'm going to select where it says 26, which is the default, and change that to 45. And click on, or hit enter on my keypad. Alright, and now I'm going to click out in this gray area to get out of all these options, and then come back over and click on the mock word that we just created. And now I can use the arrows on my keypad to position the text. I'll just position it a little bit lower there. That looks pretty good. Now, to change the color of this, I first need to find a good color that I want to use, and I'm going to go back to my color wheel. And I'm going to make sure that my complementary color rule is selected. And I really like this darker blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and copy the hex code. And you want to make sure you get all 6 digits. So I'm just going to copy that and come back to the PicMonkey editor. And make sure this is selected. Make sure that the text box is selected, and you'll have this text editing option here. I'm going to come over and select the 6 zeros there and paste in my 6-digit hex code and press enter on my keypad, and that's going to change that to the blue that I want. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is click inside the text box again and click again so it's not selected to bring up where we can type again, and then I'm going to type in a space and then type in photography. Okay, and then now clearly we need to resize our text box, so I'm going to click in this gray area. And then I'm going to re-click on our text box so that we bring up these 4 points, and then I can click, hold, and drag there, and then I can click on the side. Actually, this is what I want to do to expand that, just like that. And we want it expanded a little further. There we go. And for some reason, the font size has changed. I think when we expanded it, it changed that. But now that we have it positioned the way we want it, let's change the size back to 45. And press enter. There we go. And I'm going to click in this gray area to get out of all those options, and then click here and use my arrows on my keypad to bring this text to the far right so that we have room to add our icon. And make sure that you're not cutting off any text on the bottom. That would cut off on the bottom, and you want to make sure you're not cutting off any text on the top. So we'll position it pretty centered there. Looks pretty good. And now I need to change the color of photography to my base orange color. So I'm going to click in the text box, double click in the text box, and that's going to select all of it. And then I need to click at the end of photography, and then click, hold, and drag to select photography. And then I'm going to go back to my color wheel. And this is my base color. It's always going to be, no matter what color rule I'm using, it's always going to be the centered color. So I'm going to copy that and come back to PicMonkey, and with this photography word selected, I'm going to change the hex code by selecting the current hex code and then pasting in the new one and pressing enter on my keypad. And that's going to change it just like that. And if we click here in the gray area, we get a good view of what our logo looks like. And I realize that it's difficult to read right now with the checkered background, but when we put it on our website and it takes on the background color of our header, it's going to look great. Now to add our icon, we need to come over to the left here and click on this butterfly icon. And that's going to pull up our overlay options. And then come here to the top and choose geometric by clicking on geometric. And then we're going to select the circular option. Click on that. And over here, this is where our circle is currently. We need to click, hold, and drag to move this on top of our canvas. And we'll release that there. And then I'm going to use these arrows on the corners to resize our circle and get it about the same height as our lettering there. And once you have that, we're going to come over to color 1. And for color 1, this is going to be our circle border. And I'm going to click on this. And since I've already got my orange color copied, I can paste that in. It's going to be the 6-digit hex code. And press enter on your keypad. And that's going to change the border of the color. It might be difficult for you to see there. But now for color 2, we're going to click on that. And we're going to select transparent, because we want our background for the circle to be transparent. We just want to have the orange border. And now to add the M into our circle, we're going to come over and select the text icon and then click on add text. And that's going to create a new text box, and we need to click, hold, and drag and release this over our circle there. And then double click within the text box, and we're going to type in a capital M. Then I'm going to click outside in this gray area, and then I'm going to re-click on the text box right over that little tiny M. And unfortunately it just selected the circular overlay because the M is so small, so I need to try it again. Click here in the gray, and then I'll click on the M, and that time it got the text because it pulls up this text box. And we're going to change the font, and I'm going to use the font size of 34. I'm just going to type in 34, press enter. And then I'm going to come over here and choose the Marcel script font. Click on that. And I also need to change this color of the M back to the blue, so I'm going to go back to my color wheel and choose the complementary color rule and copy this hex code for the blue color. Come back to PicMonkey and select the 6 zeros and paste in my hex code. Press enter on my keypad. And then I can click in this gray area. And now clearly I need to reposition the text, so I'm going to click on the M again and use the arrows on my keypad to reposition that. And I need to resize the text box by clicking on the M and using this vertical line here. Click, hold, and drag and expand that so it encapsulates the full M. There we go, that looks good. And then I can use the arrows on my keypad to position the M exactly where I want it, and that looks pretty good. And it looks like I do need to lower my mock photography lettering, so I'm going to click on that, and it's going to select that text box. I'm just going to lower that just a little bit. We don't want to cut anything off. That looks pretty good, so I can click in this gray, get out of that. Alright, so this is just the way I want my logo to look on my actual website, but if you did have a situation where you did need to crop the logo, if you had too much dead space on any of the sides, what you would do is use the crop tool. Come over here to the left and click on the crop tool. And then we're going to click on crop. So that was the crop icon. Then you actually click on crop. And that's going to pull up the crop box, and you can click, hold, and drag to position it. So if I needed to crop off from the H over, what I could do is click, hold, and drag and position this just like that, and then I could come over and click on apply, and that would take that part of the image out. And of course I don't want to do that, so I'm going to come over and click on this undo button. And then the last thing we need to do is click on save. And you definitely want to make sure that you have the PNG file type selected here, and just give it a name. We'll call it Mock Photography Logo, and click on Save to My Computer and specify a folder. We're going to put it in my images folder, and I'm just going to click on Save. Alright, now that we have our logo saved to our computer, it's time to upload it to our website. So let's go back to the back end of our WordPress website. go to Appearance and click on Divi Theme Options, and then make sure you're under this General Settings tab, and then right here where it says Logo, click on Upload Image, and then click on Select Files, and then find where you saved your logo on your computer. My photography logo right here, click on Open. Then scroll down. And you do want to make sure that you select full size and click on Use for Logo. And then I do want to point out that by default, fixed navigation bar, this is enabled. We're going to come back to this in a moment, but just be aware of that. And then we're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom and make sure you save the change. Click on that. And now if we go back to the front end of our website and refresh the page, you'll notice the logo here is now showing our actual logo. When we scroll up, we get the full size of the logo. It's a larger size. And when we scroll down, because we have the fixed navigation bar enabled, the logo shrinks a little bit, but our navigation bar still remains. Now, let's go back to the back end. And I'm going to scroll back up here, and I want to show you if we click on this is enabled to disable the fixed navigation bar, and then scroll down and save that change. And then refresh our front end. Notice that our logo is a little bit bigger, and when we scroll, the navigation bar does not remain fixed. And so if you didn't want the fixed navigation bar and you have a larger logo and you don't want it to be resized, that is made smaller, then you could choose to disable the fixed navigation bar. But if you do want the fixed navigation bar, just be aware that if you do have a larger logo, it's automatically going to be resized to fit within the header. And I do want to enable the fixed navigation bar, so I'm going to go back to my Divi theme options and scroll up to the top here. And I'm going to click on where it says this is disabled underneath the fixed navigation bar. I'm going to click on that to re-enable it, scroll down to the bottom and save that change, and then come to the front end of my website and refresh the page. Alright, now let's talk about using a blog. A blog is a very useful and optional tool that you can use to communicate with your followers. And basically a blog page will display excerpts from your most recent blog posts at the top. So every time you create a new blog post, it will automatically show up at the top of whatever page you designate to be your blog page. Now, we went over how to specify which page you want to be your blog page earlier in the video, but just to reiterate, let's go back to the back end, and we're going to scroll up here, and on the left sidebar, you're going to go to Settings and click on Reading. And if you wanted your front page, which would be when the page that displays on your website whenever someone types in your actual domain name, if you wanted that page to be your blog page, you would just select here, front page displays your latest posts. Now, in our case, we want to have our front page display the page that we've designated called Home. So we chose to display a static page, and since we already created the page called Home, even though we haven't added content to it, we were able to specify earlier in the video that we wanted the front page to display this home page. And if you click here, all of the pages you've created will show up, just so you know, and we did want to choose to show the home page. And for the posts page, this is where we selected the page we created called Blog. We want that page to show our latest posts, so we selected it there. Now, if you did not want a blog, you would choose your home page like you normally would here by selecting front page display as a static page, and then next to posts page you could just leave it on this select option. But we do want to use a blog, so I'm going to leave it checked to blog. And then of course you want to make sure you save changes if you do make any changes. Now if we go back to the front end of our WordPress website and click on our blog page, you'll notice that it is displaying an excerpt from our most recent post, which happens to be the sample blog post that comes with a WordPress installation. And also notice that on the right we have what's called a sidebar, and it is populated with what are called widgets. And widgets are very helpful, and we're going to go over widgets and widget areas here in a moment. But just notice that we have the excerpt from our blog post here on our blog page, and when we click on the title of this blog post, we get taken to the actual posts page, okay, where you can leave comments, and it would show the full contents of the post if the post was longer than the excerpt. But let's go back to the back end, and we're going to delete the sample blog post by going to Posts, click on All Posts. And then just like we deleted a page, you would hover over the title here and click on Trash. And this won't delete it permanently, it's just going to take it off the front end of our website and move it to the trash folder. So you could click on the trash folder here, hover over it and restore or delete permanently, but we are just going to leave it in the trash folder for now. And then to create a new blog post, we can go to Posts and click on Add New, or we can click on Add New here. And unlike with pages, we don't have access to the page builder, so we're going to be using the default visual editor that comes standard with WordPress, which is what you see here. And just a reminder, you want to make sure that you have the toolbar toggled so you have access to these additional formatting options. Now let's go ahead and give our blog post a title, and we're going to call this one Welcome to Our New Blog. And then I'm going to add some content here by copying and pasting some written content. Paste that in, press enter, and paste it in again so we have two paragraphs. And if I come up here and click right there and press enter and then move up, I can type in additional text and select the text and change that text into a heading. I can make it bold, I can make it italic. I can also this is something I don't think we've gone over. I can turn any text into a link so you can click on it on the front end of our website and go to another page or any page on the internet. And to do that, you would just select the text, click on this link tool or this link icon, and you would just copy and paste in the URL for where you wanted that to go, or you can link to existing content on your website. So if you have another page you want to link to, you could select that here, and you would just choose Add a Link. And we'll just link this to our home page, for example. You can click on Add Link, and then to remove that link, you would just select the text and click on the Remove Link icon, and that would take care of that. We're going to delete that though for now, and come back up, click there, and press the backspace, and then it looks like I need to turn this back into a paragraph. There we go. Alright, and then let's come up here to the top right and click on Screen Options. And you want to make sure all of these are checked. Let's go ahead and click on this one and then click on Screen Options to minimize that. And the reason we're doing that is so that all of these different settings options are showing up on our page here and then below our visual editor here. And then let's scroll down, and we're going to add a featured image. And basically what a featured image is going to do with our blog posts, it's going to put the image above the contents of our post on the actual post page. And then on the blog page, it's going to put the same image above the excerpt so that the post is identifiable. And to set a featured image, click on Set Featured Image. And instead of uploading a new image, I'm just going to select one that I already have in my media library. I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to click on Set Featured Image. And you'll see exactly what this looks like when we view the front end, of course. Then let's scroll up. And one of the very useful components of using a blog post is that you can divide your posts into categories, which makes it really easy for your users to be able to navigate and view the content that they really want to read. We're just going to leave this in the uncategorized category for now. And let's scroll up and let's go ahead and publish this post. Click on Publish. And then let's go and view the front end of our website. And I'm going to click on my blog page to get taken to my blog page. And you can see that our blog page is now showing the featured image that we set up, and it's showing the title of our only blog post, and it's showing an excerpt, which by default is going to be the first several characters of the post. And if we click on the title or the featured image, we get taken to the actual post page where we have the full contents of the post. So you see both paragraphs there. Now let's go back, and I want to show you how to use the visual editor to add images within the contents of your post. So let's go back to the back end. And let's say I want to put an image next to the second paragraph. I'm going to click right there to get my cursor at the far left of this paragraph. And then I'm going to click on Add Media. And I'm just going to use this image right here, so I'm going to select it. And then we have several different options here. If we scroll down, for the alignment, I want it to be to the far left of that paragraph, and I want the paragraph to wrap around the image so it looks nice and professional. So for the alignment, I'm going to say left. And then for link to, we could make the image a link, where if you were on the front end of the website and you wanted to click on the image and be taken somewhere, you could select a link, and you could do a custom URL if you wanted to do that. You could link to the actual image. We're just going to say no. We don't want it to link anywhere. And then let's choose a size. For the size of the image, full size would be much too large. We're going to use, you can experiment with this, but I'm going to use the medium 300 by 199 option there. And then I'm going to click on Insert into Post. And then click on Update. And just so you know, before we view this on our front end, you can click on this image and you can make changes to the settings by clicking on this icon, or you can remove the image by clicking on this icon. But we'll leave the image, and let's go back and view the front end, and we'll refresh the blog post. And if we scroll down, you see we have this image showing up on the left of this paragraph. Now let's go back to the back end of our website, and let's go to Posts and click on Add New. And in this post, we're gonna add a YouTube video. Let's first give it a title. We'll call it Landscape Photography Skills. And then all you have to do to add a YouTube video using WordPress is click in within the content area here within the visual editor. And we're going to open up YouTube in a different tab. I'll use the Pixlr tab since we don't need that anymore. Let's go to youtube.com. And I'm just going to search for landscape photography. Then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to use this video. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click to pause the video. And then I'm going to grab the URL by clicking up here and copy that and come back to the back end of my site, and I'm going to paste that in there. And then to add content beneath the video, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click right here. When I do that, you can see my cursor's showing up here on the right, but as soon as we start typing, it moves to the far left. So I'm just going to replace this with some content that I already have here. Copy this, paste that in there, and then I'm going to press enter and paste this in again, enter and paste it in again. So we have 3 paragraphs. And then I'm going to scroll down, and you could set a featured image just like we did with the last blog post, but what I want to do is come up here to the top, and underneath format, I want to change this from the standard blog post format to the video post format. And what this is going to do, instead of using a featured image and having that featured image display as the thumbnail on my blog post page, it's going to actually use the video as the thumbnail. So let's go ahead and publish this. Actually, before we do that, let's add a category. And instead of putting this in the uncategorized category, I'm going to click on Add New Category. And I'm going to call this Video. And then click on Add New Category. And now let's click on Publish to publish this post. And if we view the front end of our WordPress website and scroll up and click on Blog, you see that we now have our video post showing up, and here's the thumbnail is the video, and we could actually watch this video right from this screen by clicking on play, and we can click on the title of the video or of the blog post to be taken to the actual post page where we have the video and all 3 paragraphs. And if we go back to our blog page, I do want to point out that this is showing up above our other blog post because this is the most recent post. And I do want to point out that if you do want to add a video to a normal page and you're using the page builder, all you would do is use a text module, and then you would copy and paste the URL of the video into the content area of the text module. Now let's go back to the back end and add our 3rd post. We'll go back to the back end here and click on Posts and click on Add New. Then we'll give it a title, and I'll call it Pixabay Outstanding High Quality Free Stock Photos. And then we're going to come down, and in the content section, I'm going to type in checkout.pixabay.com. And then I'm going to select pixabay.com, and I'm going to make this a link by clicking on the link icon. And I want this to link directly to pixabay.com, so I'm going to open up this YouTube page here, and I'm going to go to Pixabay, and then I'm just going to copy the link, come back in and paste that in, and make sure that http:// is not in there twice. Click on add link, and then we'll add a period. And this is a good point. If you don't want the period to be part of the link, then you can select just the period like that and click on the unlink, the remove link icon. There we go. Then I'm going to press enter and paste in a couple of paragraphs here. Copy this, paste that in, press enter, and paste it in 2 more times. There we go. And then instead of using the standard post format and adding a featured image, what I'm going to do is use what's called the link post format. So I'm going to click on that. And when we do that, you notice we have this option to use a background color now. And when we're using the link format, what that's going to do is include the link and the title of your post inside a little box, and you can make that box whatever color you want. And let's go to our color wheel, and I'm going to click on the compound color rule, and I want to use this teal color here for the background color of my box. So I'm going to scroll down and copy this hex code. Make sure you get all 6 digits, copy that, come back to the back end, and I'm going to click on use background color and select color, and then I'm going to remove the 6 digits that are already there, and it's okay to leave the pound symbol. Then I'm going to paste in my 6-digit hex code, and I'm going to leave the text color on light and scroll down and publish the page. And now if I view the front end of my WordPress website and go back to my blog, you'll see that instead of having an excerpt with the link post format, we have the title of our post here and the link right here. And if we click on the link, that's going to take us directly to Pixabay. If we go back and if we click on the title of the post, that would take us to the actual post. And this is what the post would look like. We have the first line with our link here, and then we could also click on the link here to be taken to Pixabay, and then we have the other 3 paragraphs. And I do need to go back and add a category for this blog post. Let's go back to the post page editor, and scroll down. And we're going to uncheck uncategorize because I don't want it to be in that category. And by the way, you can use multiple categories for your posts if you wanted to do that. But for this one, we're going to click on add new category, and we're going to call this category resources. And then scroll down and click on add new category. And then we're going to update. And if we viewed this post page on the front end, and you can see there the uncategorized category right there. If we refresh, that will change to resources. All right, now we'll go over blog comment settings. And basically, if you do have a blog, you have the option to allow comments on your blog posts. And by default, if we scroll down here, this is the actual posts page for our Pixabay blog post. If we scroll down, you'll see that comments are disabled. There's no place for people to leave comments. And comments are controlled in 2 places. The first place, let's go back to the back end, and let's go to settings and click on discussion. This is the first place comments are controlled. If we look at this option at the top here where it says allow people to post comments on new articles, that is unchecked by default. However, if you read below, these settings may be overridden for individual articles, which means that for each individual post we can override the default setting, which in this case is to not allow comments on new articles. And we'll just leave this setting. And scroll down, and before a comment appears, the section that says the comment author must have a previously approved comment is not checked. I recommend going ahead and checking this because this is going to help prevent spam comments. So let's go ahead and scroll down and save that change. Click on Save Changes. And now if we did enable comments on individual blog posts, the user would have to have a previously approved comment. So to approve your comments, they would show up in this section. You can click here, click on comments, and they would show up here, and you could hover over them and you could either approve or deny them. Now let's go back and let's open up the first post that we created by going to posts, click on all posts, and click on welcome to our new blog to open up that post in the post editor. and go to screen options, and you should have all these checked, but you want to make sure that you have the discussion and the comments options checked. We'll click there to minimize that and scroll down. And right here, if you wanted to override the setting that we have, the default setting to not allow comments, we could click on allow comments, check that box, and then scroll up, and we can update this post by clicking on update there. And now if we view the front end of our WordPress website and go back to our blog, click on blog on the menu and scroll down, and we'll click on the title of our first post, welcome to our new blog, and scroll down. You can see that we now have the option for people to leave comments. And I do want to just point out that because I'm logged into the back end of my website, it's already got my information. However, if it was a normal user that was not logged in, they would have a place to leave their name and their email address, and then they would have the comment box there. Alright, now let's talk about widgets and widget areas. Most WordPress themes typically have a pretty standard layout that consists of a content area and one or more sidebars. And with the Divi theme, we've been using the page builder to have complete control over the layouts on individual pages. But as you can see on our blog page, we have the Divi standard layout, which is a content section, which is what you see here. And then we have a sidebar section, which is what you see here. And this sidebar section can also be referred to as a widget area, and it's populated with the search widget, the recent posts widget, and then we've got 4 other widgets by default. And basically widgets allow you to add additional functionality to your website to increase usability. And just as an example, the categories widget, which you see right here, uses our different blog categories that we've created when we created our blog posts, and this makes it a lot easier for your users to navigate the content of your blog. Of course, you do have complete control over what widgets are used within your widget areas. So let's go back to the back end, and let's go to Appearance and click on Widgets. And this is going to show us all of our available widget areas and our available widgets. On the right side of the screen, we have all of our available widget areas. And you can see right away we have the sidebar widget area populated with the 6 default widgets. And on the left side of the screen, we have all of our available widgets to choose from, and we're not going to go over all of these, but I do want to show you how to use widgets. Now, make sure that next to sidebar, you click on this arrow here, and this is going to drop down and show you all of the widgets and allow you to populate this with additional widgets. So to remove a widget, all you would do is click, hold, and drag and move the widget back over to the available widgets section and release, and that's going to get rid of it. So we'll do that with all of these. Click, hold, and drag and release. Just like that. And now our sidebar widget area is blank. And just to show you, let's go back to the front end of our site, and if I refresh the page here, you can see that we don't have any widgets in our sidebar. So let's go back, and I'm going to add in 3 widgets to the sidebar widget area. I'm going to add a categories widget by click, holding, and dragging that in here. And that's going to give me some additional options. We'll just stick with the default, so I can click on this arrow to minimize those options. And then under the categories widget, I'm going to add a recent posts widget right here. Click, hold, and drag that up, and release that, and then click on this arrow to minimize those options. We'll stick with the default there as well. And then I'm going to add a search widget. So I'll click, hold, and drag and move that widget up here, and again click on the arrow to minimize that. And you can rearrange these in whatever order you wish by click, holding, and dragging and releasing them, just like that, but we'll keep it the way we had it. And all of these changes actually save by default too, by the way. Now let's view the front end and refresh the page. And you'll see that we have the 3 widgets that we've added in the particular order that we added them in. And now let's go back, and you probably noticed that we have 4 different footer widget areas. So we're going to populate each of these footer areas with their own widget. And for the first one, the first 3 actually, I'm just going to use the same widgets that we used in the sidebar. I'll add a category widget to footer area 1. Click, hold, and drag that in place, and then click there to minimize that, and then I'll click here to open up the footer area 2. Click on that arrow there, and for footer area 2 I'm going to add a recent posts widget. Click, hold, and drag that in, and then for footer area 3 I'm click on the arrow and add a search widget. Scroll down and grab my search widget, drag that in, release. And then for footer area 4, I'm going to click on this arrow to open that up, and scroll down, and I'm going to use an Elegant Themes About Me widget. Oh, and by the way, that's a good point. You can click on these, and that would bring up the option to assign it to a specific widget area if you didn't want to drag and drop. So I could click on the Elegant Themes About Me widget like that, and I want it to be in my footer area number 4, so I can click on that, and then click on Add Widget, and it automatically adds that. Now with the Elegant Themes About Me widget, it's going to have a title and some text and then an image, and to add the image we need to get the URL of the image. So to do that, let's go back. What we're going to do is go to our media library, so come over to the left and click on Media. You can just click on the Media tab right there, and if you wanted to add a new image, you could just click on this Add New and upload the image like we've been doing. Now in this case I'm going to use an image we already have uploaded to our library, which is this picture right here, so I'm just going to click on that picture, and that's going to open it up, and the URL is right here, so I'm just going to copy this entire URL, and I'm going to go back to my widget section and open up my footer area number 4, and then open up the Elegant Themes About Me widget, and I'm just going to paste in that URL for the image right there, and for the title I'm going to change this to Mock Photography, and then for the text I'm just going to say we can't wait to work with you on your next project. And then I'm going to click on Save. And we do need to save the widgets if we make changes to the widgets directly. So now if I view the front end of my website and refresh the page, when I scroll down you'll see that our footer is now populated with the different widgets that we assigned. We've got our About widget, our Elegant Themes About widget here, and then the other 3 right here. And the last thing I want to do related to widgets is show you how to use widgets on your pages if you're using the page builder. So what you would do is go back to the back end and make sure you're in the widget section by going to Appearance Widgets, and you would create a new widget area. So we'll just call this Custom Widget Area and click on Create. And then it says that you can create more areas, and once you finish, update the page to see all the areas. So I'm just going to refresh this page here in my browser. Alright, and now you can see that we have this new custom widget area, and I can click on the arrow to open that up, and I'm going to add a categories widget to that custom widget area, and that'll save by default. Now let's say I want to add this custom widget area with the categories widget to my About page. So what I would do is open up my About page, go to Pages, All Pages, click on About Us to open that up in the page editor. Then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on Add Row, and then I'm going to click on Insert Columns. And I'm going to use this option right here, and I'm going to put a text module in the larger column, and then I'm going to put my custom widget area in the smaller column. So I'm going to click on this and click on Insert Modules here, and I'll just use a text module, and I'll just scroll down and type in, this is the content section, and save that. And then click on Insert Modules here, and to use a custom widget area with the page builder, scroll down and find the sidebar module, click on Sidebar, and then you do need to choose the orientation, and this of course our sidebar is going to be on the right side of the page, so we're going to select that. And then next to widget area you have all the options, all the available widget areas, and since we did create the custom widget area specifically for this purpose, I'm going to select that, and I'll leave the text color dark. I'm going to click on Save. And then let's update the page. Click on Update there. And then let's view the front end of our WordPress website and click on About Us in the menu. And we'll scroll down, and underneath our team member modules we have this content section with the text module that we added, and then we have our widget area that we added with the sidebar module. And of course I'm not going to keep these two modules on my About page, so I'm going to go back to the back end and scroll down and just delete this entire row. Click on Update there. Alright, the time has finally come to add content to our home page. So let's go ahead and open up our home page by going to Pages, click on All Pages, and then click on Home. And of course we do want to switch to the Page Builder, so click on Use Page Builder. Now the first thing I want to do is create a full width slideshow that will span the full width of my screen, and by default we have a normal section here which is contained within this blue box. And if we wanted to add a normal slideshow that did not span the full width of the screen, what you could do is click on Insert Columns, and we would select one column. Then you could insert modules and choose the slider module right there. But since we do want the full width slider to be in place, I'm going to have to add a full width section. So I'm going to click on Add Full Width Section. And you would need to do this for any of the full width modules. And we're going to go ahead and delete this default normal section by clicking on the X there. Now to insert the full width slideshow module, click on Insert Modules, and we're going to choose the full width slider. Click on that. And then we have these basic settings that we need to set up. I am going to enable the arrows. I'm also going to enable the slider controls, so I'll leave those the way they are. For automatic animation, that's disabled by default. I'm going to enable that. And when we enable that, we have the option to set the animation speed, and what this will do is the slides will just automatically rotate, and I want the time between each rotation to be 3 seconds, so I'm going to enter that as 3,000 milliseconds. It's very important for you to use milliseconds when you're doing this. If you just put 3 and save that, your slideshow would rotate what would seem to be 100 miles per hour. And that's a common mistake, I'm sure, so just be sure to use the milliseconds. And then we're going to scroll down and we're going to keep Don't Use Parallax Effect in place. We're going to go over the parallax effect a little bit later as we create the rest of our home page. So we'll leave that. And then we need to scroll up to the top and add our first slide by clicking on Add New Slide. And the first thing we're going to do here is add our slide image, and this is going to be the background image. And a couple things I want to point out before we upload our background slide image. If you would rather use a background color, you could do so by clicking on Select Color, and then you could paste in a hex code, or you could choose whatever color you want, like we've been doing. And then also be aware that the slide image is quite different than the background image. The background image is going to be the image that covers your entire slide, and we're going to go over both of these so you'll see the difference. But let's go ahead and click on Upload an Image next to Background Image. And we're going to use this image right here. We've already got it added to our media library. I'm going to click on that and click on Set as Background. And I do want to point out it's very important to use the large images that we talked about earlier when we downloaded our images from Pixabay, because in the case of having a slideshow, your images are going to be very large, and if you use smaller images, they're going to be scaled up, causing them to lose quality. And also, you need to be aware that your images on the slideshow are going to be cropped a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom, because they're going to be displayed on the front end of our site in a much more rectangular way. So just be aware of that when you choose the images that you want to add to your slideshow. Now let's scroll up to the top, and next to heading, this is an optional setting. If you want to have text on your slide, this is where you would add the heading. And for this slide, we're going to say Welcome to our site. And if you want to have a button on your slide with a clickable link to another web page, you can do that by choosing your button text here, and then you would copy and paste in the URL for the destination of that button, and you would put that here. So we'll do that with this first slide, and we'll use the button text View Our Portfolio. And then what I'm going to do is come up to the front end of my site, click on my portfolio page, or click on that in the menu, and I'm going to copy the URL for my portfolio page and come back in and paste that next to button URL. And then if you want to add additional text to your slide, you can scroll down to the bottom and add that in the content section here. So I'm going to copy and paste some text in that I want to add to my slide. Just paste that in, and then I'm going to scroll up, and I am going to select the background color and clear this so it takes the default, since we are using this background image. And then I'm going to click on Save, And now we can add our second slide, but just so you know, if you do need to edit this slide at all, you can delete it by clicking on the X, or you can click on the edit button here to be taken back to these same settings. Now for our other two slides, we're just going to use background images and not have any buttons or text on the slides. So we're going to click on Add New Slide, and then I'm going to scroll down, and next to background image, I'm going to click on Upload an Image. And for this slide, I'm going to choose this image right here. By the way, if you don't have your image added to your media library already, you would just click on Upload Files here, and then you would select the file on your computer and do it that way. But we do have the images in our media library. So I'm going to click this image to select it, and then click on Set as Background. And then all I have to do is click on Save, since we're not changing any of these other settings. And then I'll click on Add New Slide once more. And next to background image, click on Upload an Image, and I'll be using this image for my third slide. I'll select that, click on Set as Background, and click on Save, and click on Save again to save the module. And then now we can update our home page, and now we can view the front end of our WordPress website and click on Home in the menu. And now you see we have our full width slideshow. And as long as my cursor is not over that slideshow, it will transition between slides every 3 seconds. But if I hover over a slide, it will remain paused on that slide, and this is for usability. And also notice that the text is very difficult to read here. And that's because it's white text on a white background on this part of the image. And I'm going to show you a couple of things you can do to fix that. Let's go back to our page editor and click on the Edit button for the full width slider module, and then I'm going to click on the Edit button for the first slide that we have that contains text, and scroll down. The first thing you can do to experiment is come down and change the text color from light to dark, and you could save that and see if that was something that you wanted to go with. Sometimes different background images require different text coloring. And then what we're going to actually do, if we come up and upload an image next to slide image, click on Upload an Image, and I'm going to select this image right here and click on Set as Slide Image, and click on Save, and we'll save the module and we'll update the page. Then we'll come back and view the front end, and we'll refresh the page. Now notice that our text has scooted over to the far right and it's much easier to read now, and we have this image here covering our background image. Well, that's great, but in a lot of cases, and especially in this case, I don't want to have an image right here covering my main background image. So this is a pretty cool trick you can do. Let's go back to the page editor. When we created our logo, we first created a blank PNG canvas image with Pixlr, and we can use that image as our slide image. And we'll click on the Edit button next to the full width module, click on the Edit button next to the slide, and then we'll scroll down, and next to slide image we'll click on Upload an Image, and I'm going to click on Upload Files, click on Select Files, and I'm just going to use the mock photography canvas PNG file that we created again with Pixlr. Click on Open, and click on Set as Slide Image, and let's save that, and then we'll save the module and update the page. And let's view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh. Now you notice that we don't have any visible image, even though it is a blank image covering right here, and we have our text to the right. And I do want to point out, of course, the arrows work quite well. You can click on the arrows to navigate the slides manually. And down below we have these little buttons indicating which slide we're on. And if we come back and look at the first slide, I want to point out that when you hover over View Our Portfolio, it becomes a clickable link, and when we click on that, it's going to take us directly to our portfolio page. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add 3 what are called blurb modules underneath our homepage slideshow. So to do that, let's go back to our homepage page editor, and I'm going to need to create a new section because these are not going to be full width modules. I'm going to click on Add Section, and then I'm going to click on Insert Columns, and because I want 3 evenly spaced blurb modules, I'm going to click on this option in the top right. Now, blur modules are probably my favorite modules to use. I just think they're great for displaying small amounts of information in a very professional and aesthetically pleasing way. With the Divi theme, you get access to over 300 high-quality icons to use within your blur modules, and they look fantastic. All right, and the first blur module I'm going to insert is going to be for my frequently asked questions page. So I'm going to click on Insert Modules and click on the blur module, and I'm going to give this a title, which is going to be Have a Question with a question mark. And we do want our blur to be clickable, so our users can be taken to our frequently asked questions page. So I'm going to go back to the front end of our site, click on the FAQ page in the menu, and then I'm going to copy the URL, come back in and paste that in there. And we'll leave URL opens in the same window. We'll leave that and scroll down. And the next thing we need to determine is whether or not we want to use an icon. And just so you know, if you choose not to use an icon, you do have the option to upload your own image or icon if you would want to go that route. We will use an icon. So I'm going to click on that and select yes. Then I'm going to scroll down, and we have all these different icons to choose from. Like I mentioned, there's over 300 really high quality icons to choose from, and you can just browse through these. And by the way, if you're having trouble scrolling through these icons like I'm doing right there, what I've found is you can click on within the icon area and then be able to scroll down like that. Or sometimes you might have to click within the icon area, then click out of the icon area, and then back in the icon area, and then you can use the arrows on your keypad to scroll through the icons, just so you know. All right, now the icon I'm going to use is going to be this one right here, so I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to choose an icon color. And for all of the icon colors, I'm going to be using my color palette. So I'm going to click on my color wheel tab here, and I'm going to go back and select the complementary color rule. And I want to use this blue, so I'm going to copy and paste the hex code. Copy that, come back to the back end, and click on Select Color. And right here, I'm going to replace this with my hex code. All right, and then scroll down. And you do have the option to circle your icon, and if you did want to circle it, if we change that to yes, then you would have an option to select the circle color, and that would be the same with the border. But we're going to say no, we don't want it to be circled, and therefore we don't have a circle border. And then for the image icon placement, we have two options, the top or the left. If you select the top, your icon will be much larger than if you select the left option. You can experiment with that, and we'll actually be using both ways for our homepage. For this one, I'm going to select the top. And for image icon animation, you can experiment with that. In fact, we will as soon as we get all three of our blur modules in place here. But for now, I'm going to say no animation. And for text color, we'll leave that dark. And I do want to leave the orientation of our text centered. And then down here in the content section, I'm going to paste in some content that I have. I'm just going to select this, copy and paste this in there. And then I'm going to select Frequently Asked Questions page. Select that and click on the link icon to make this a link. And I can link to existing content since this is already a page on my site. I can scroll down and click on my Frequently Asked Questions page. Click on Add Link. And I'm going to also highlight Contact Us and make that a link to our contact page. So I'm going to click there and click on the Contact Us page down below and click on Add Link. And then I'm going to click on Save. And let's go ahead and update the page. And let's view the front end of our website. Go back to our home page by clicking on our logo there. And scroll down. And you'll see that we have our first blurb, and the icon appears at the top like we specified. And if I click on either the icon or the title of the blurb, I get taken to the Frequently Asked Questions page. And let's go back to the home page real quick. I just want to point out something I just thought about. And scroll down. Just so you know, we did select to not circle this icon, but the icon itself has a circle around it. So if we would have selected to circle it, we would have another circle around it. So I just want to clarify that. All right, now let's go back to the back end. And what we're going to do is put in our next blur module. And what we can do to make this easier is just click on the duplicate button here, and then click, hold, and drag this module in place right there. And then I can click on the edit button here, to pull up these settings, and we're going to change some of these. The text, of course, will change. For this title, I'm going to say "See Our Work." I'll type that out. And the URL for this page is going to be for our portfolio page. So I'm going to go back to the front end of our website, click on portfolio page, and copy and paste that link in. And we'll scroll down. We do want to use an icon. And I'm going to find the camera icon that I want to use here. Click on that. And then we'll scroll down. And for the icon color, I'm going to use a different color on my color wheel. So I'm going to click on my color wheel tab, scroll up, and change the color rule. Let's try compound. Yeah, this is the one I want to use. I want to use this teal color. So I'm going to copy this hex code. Make sure you get all 6 digits. Go back to the back end. And we'll click on select color. And we'll select what's there and replace it with our hex code. Then we'll scroll down. And we don't want to circle the icon. We want the icon on top. And we don't want animation for the moment. And the last thing we're going to change is just the content. So I'm going to select that and delete it and replace it with this content here. Copy and paste that in. And then I'm going to select portfolio and make that a link by clicking on the link icon. And I'm going to link to existing content, and that's going to be my portfolio page. So I can click on that and click on add link. And just remember, by the way, you can always put in a custom URL. It just happens that we have the portfolio page and it puts in the URL for us. But click on add link and we'll click on save. And then we're going to duplicate this once more by clicking on the duplicate button here. And then we'll click, hold, and drag and move this to our third column and release. And then we'll click on the edit icon to change these settings. And for the title, I'm going to say request a free quote. And for the URL, we'll replace this with a link to our contact page. So I'll click on our contact page in the menu. And then I'll copy and paste the URL, copy that and paste it in. And we'll scroll down. And for the icon, I'm going to come over and scroll up a little bit. And I'm going to use this icon here, so I'm going to click on that. And we're going to scroll down. And I'm going to click on select color, and the color I want to use, I'm going to go back to my color wheel, I'm going to use this light blue here, so I'm going to copy this hex code, come over and paste it in here. Then I'll scroll down, and all these other settings will leave the same, and then we'll change the content, of course. I'll select that and copy and paste some content that I have here. Copy that, paste it in. And then I'm going to make get in touch with us. I'm going to select that text and make that a link to my contact page. Click on the link icon, and this will go to our contact us page, and then click add link. Then we'll click on save, and then we'll click on update to update our page. And now if we view the front end of our WordPress website and go back to our home page by clicking on the logo and then scrolling down, you see we have all 3 modules in place, and they look pretty good. And real quick, I just want to show you how to use the animations. Let's go back to the back end and scroll down, and we'll click on the edit button here and scroll down to the animation option. And we'll change this from no animation, and for this one we'll use left to right. Click on save, and we'll click on the edit icon for the second blurb. We'll scroll down, and I'm going to use from top to bottom. Click on save, and for the third one, click on the edit button. We'll scroll down and use from right to left. Click on save, and now if we update the page and view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you can see that they animate in. And if we go back to the top and refresh the page and scroll down, they would animate in as we're scrolling down. So that's a pretty cool feature to use if you choose to. But I'm going to go back real quick and get that back to the way it was with no animation. Alright, now that I've got it back the way it was, where these icons don't have any animation, the last thing I want to do with this section is add a divider module. So let's go back to the back end, and I'm going to scroll down, and then I need to add a new row. Click on add row, and I'm going to click on insert columns. And the reason I need to add a new row is because I want just a 1-column row, so I'm going to click on the 1-column option, and then I'm going to click on insert modules and find the divider module. Click on that. And for the color, I'm going to use our base orange color, so I'm going to go back to my color wheel, and that's always going to be the center option. So I'm going to select the hex code, copy that, come back and click on select color and paste that in there, and then scroll down and change visibility to show divider. Click on show divider, and then we'll click on save, and then just update the page, and then let's view the front end real quick and refresh. Alright, now we have a nice looking divider, and again, I just think this looks really professional with these icons and using a divider like that, as subtle as it is. The next thing I'm going to do is add a call to action module underneath our divider here, and I want it to include a testimonial and a link to our testimonials page, and I want the whole section to have a dark brown color that's directly from our color palette. So to do that, let's go back, scroll down, and I need to add a new section because I want this section and this section alone to have that dark brown background color. So I'm going to click on add section, and before we change the background color of the section, we'll insert the column, and we want to use one column for this module. So I'm going to click on the one column option, then click on insert modules, and we're going to use the call to action module, so click on that. And for the title, I'm just going to call this testimonials, and for the button URL, we'll go to the front end of our site, click on our testimonials page, and copy and paste that link in. And for the button text, I'm going to say view other testimonials, and we'll scroll down. And for this module, we're not going to use a background color, so we're going to say no, and we'll scroll down. And I do want to use light text because light text is going to look good on a dark brown background. Then we'll leave text orientation centered, and we'll scroll down, and I'm going to copy and paste in this testimonial that I have. Copy that, paste it in here in the content section. Then we'll click on save. And then remember to change the background color of a section. You can click on the section edit button, so we'll do that here. And for the background color, we'll click on select color, and we'll go to our color palette, or color wheel, and we'll change the color rule to monochromatic. And this is the brown color that I want to use, so I'm going to scroll down and copy the 6-digit hex code, come back in, and we'll paste this in there. And you do want to make sure that you have transparent background color turned off so that this background color takes effect. And we'll click on save. And we'll scroll up and update the page to save the changes to the page. And now let's view the front end of our WordPress website, and we can click on the home tab in the menu. And when we scroll down, you see that we have this nice section with our testimonial. And when we click on the view other testimonials button, of course it's going to take us to the URL we put in, which is our testimonials page. And let's go back to the front end real quick. I forgot to put in my name underneath the testimonial, so to do that, we'll go back to our page editor, scroll down, click on the edit button on the call to action module, scroll down to the content section, click here and press enter, and then I'll just put my name in like that. Click on save, and then we'll update the page. And then we'll view the front end and refresh. Alright, there we go. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add our blog section underneath our call to action section here. So let's go back to the back end. And I'm going to scroll down, and I am going to add a new section because I don't want my blog section to take on the brown background that we have for our call to action section. So I'm going to click on add section. And then I'm going to click on insert columns, and I am going to use one column for this section. So I'll click on that option. Then I'm going to insert modules, and the first thing I'm going to put in is a text module, so I'm going to click on text. And I do want this to be dark, and I do want to keep the text orientation to the left for this particular text module. Then I'm going to type in check out the latest from our blog. And then I'm going to select it and turn this into a heading 1. So it's bigger and bolder, and click on save. Alright, and then underneath our text module, we're going to click on insert modules, and we're going to find the blog module. So I'm going to scroll down and click on the blog module. And you have two different options for the blog module layout. You have the full width option and the grid layout. I'm going to use the grid layout, but of course you can experiment with both of these. And then for posts number, you need to determine how many of your blog posts you want to be shown on wherever you put the blog module. And for this module, even though I only have 3 blog posts. I'm going to leave this at 10. In the event that I add additional blog posts in the future, they'll show up to 10. If we had 3 blog posts and I only wanted to show 2 on our homepage here, I could set this to 2 and it would show the most recent 2. And then let's scroll down. Another really cool feature is you have the option to include categories. So if I only wanted to show blog posts from specific categories, I could select which categories I wanted shown, and it would show the most recent posts from those categories, or from that individual category if I only selected one category. This is a very useful tool for people that want to have certain pages on their website dedicated to certain blog post categories. We're going to show our most recent posts from all categories, so I'll leave these unchecked. And let's scroll down, and for featured image, we do want to show featured image, so I'll leave that there. For the content, we want to show the excerpt. And for the read more button, I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to scroll down, and all these other settings we're going to leave to the default, and go ahead and click on save. And let's scroll up, update the page. And then if we view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh, scroll down, you see that we have this nice looking grid layout with our most recent blog posts from all categories. And by the way, you probably noticed that our link post is showing up like this with the teal background, and our video post is showing up with the YouTube video as the thumbnail. And then we have our standard post format here showing the normal featured image as the thumbnail. And this is the read more button, by the way. So we can click on these to be taken to the actual blog post page. Let's go back, and the next thing I want to do is underneath my blog section, I want to add a new section with its own background image, and I want to have 2 columns. One of those columns is going to be an image, and then the other column is going to be a series of blurb modules. So let's go back to the back end, to our page editor. And because this section is going to have its own background image, I'm going to need to add a new section. So click on Add Section, and I'll scroll down, and I'll insert my columns. And I do want this option with 2 equally spaced columns. Click on that. And then I'll click on Insert Modules to insert my image module. And we'll click on the image module there. Then we'll upload an image. And since we already have this image uploaded to our media library, I can select it here. This is the one I want to use. Click on Set as Image. Then let's scroll down, and you do have the option to open this image up in a lightbox when clicked. I'm going to keep the default setting there and not enable that. Then if you wanted the image to be a link to another page, you could paste in the link to the destination there. We will not make this a link. And let's scroll down, and we're going to turn off this animation option. Click on No Animation. And all these other options we'll leave to the default, and click on Save. And something I want to point out about the image module, basically your images will be resized to fit within the column. So for this example, since we have 2 equally spaced columns, our image will be resized and take up half the width of our content section. And let's go ahead and add our background image. So to do that, let's click on the Edit button for the section, which is this icon right here. And we're going to click on Upload an Image. And I need to upload this file, so I'm going to click on Upload Files and click on Select Files. And I've got this saved to my computer right here. And by the way, I got this image. I'm going to click on Open. I got this image from Pixabay, and I found it by searching for textured background. And I just had to browse a page or two to find this. Then I'm going to click on Set as Background. Then let's scroll down and make sure transparent background color is off. We'll scroll down, and I want to draw your attention to the parallax effect. By default, the option to not use the parallax effect is in place, so we're going to keep that. I'm going to click on Save. Then let's scroll up and let's update the page. And then let's view the front end of our website and refresh. And scroll down. And here we have our new section with our image that's taking up 1/2 of the content section, since we have a 2-column option. And notice this background image is pretty standard. When I scroll, the background image scrolls as well. Now let's go back, and we're going to change the background image setting. So let's scroll down and click on the Edit button for this section. And we're going to scroll down, and we're going to turn the parallax effect on by clicking here and selecting Use Parallax Effect and click on Save. And then let's come up and update the page. Then we'll view the front end of our website and refresh. And now when we scroll, the background remains fixed and the content over the background scrolls around the background like that. And I think that's a pretty cool effect. That is exactly what the parallax effect is. So we're going to leave the parallax effect in place. Alright, now let's go back and take care of the content in our second column. So let's go back to the back end. I'm going to scroll down and click on Insert Modules. And the first thing I'm going to put in is a text module. Click on Text. And I'm going to change the text color to light since we have this dark orange background image. I think I know that the lighter text, white text, is going to look good. And I do want to point out real quick that when you're working with background colors and background images, sometimes it is a trial and error type of process when you're trying to figure out what color of text is going to look the best. The main thing is just to make sure it's legible, and sometimes you'll find that certain background images just aren't going to work, so you just need to try and keep experimenting. So I'm going to scroll down, and for text orientation, I'm going to leave that to the left, and I'm going to type in "Why choose us?" ? and select that, make that a heading 1. And click on Save. And then I'm going to click on Insert Modules to add a blurb module underneath my text module. So I'm going to select Blurb. And for this first blurb, my title is going to be Quick Turnaround Time. And for all these blurbs, I'm not going to have them linked anywhere, so I'm going to leave the URL blank. And we do want to use an icon, so I'm going to change this to Yes. And then I'm going to scroll down and select the icon that I want to use, which is going to be this circled check mark. So I'm going to click that. Then I'm going to scroll down. And for the icon color, I'm going to select color, and I'm just going to make the icon the same color as my text is going to be. With the light text, it's going to be white. So I can click white down here, and it's going to change that color to white. Then I'll scroll down, and for the image icon placement, unlike the blur modules that we used previously, I'm going to place the icon to the left of my content. So select that and click left. And for the animation, I'm going to select that and change it to no animation. And for text color, I do want the text to be light. And for the text orientation, I'm going to change this to left and scroll down. And I'm going to copy and paste in some content. Copy that and paste that in there. Then I'm going to click on Save. And before we add our additional blurb modules, let's go ahead and update the page. Then let's view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh. Alright, you can see we have our text module here and our first blurb module. And like I mentioned previously, when you select for the icon to be to the left, the icon is much smaller than it would be if it was on top of the blurb module. And what we're going to do is go back and add 3 more blurb modules to fill this space here. So let's go back to the back end, scroll down, and I'm just going to duplicate the blurb module and then click on this edit button. And the only thing I need to change is the content and the title. I'm going to use the same icon for all of these blurbs, so I'm going to change this to Outstanding Results. Scroll down to the content section and select this, remove that, copy and paste this content in here, paste that in, and then I'm going to make portfolio a link to my portfolio page. Select that, click on the link icon, and click on the portfolio page, click on Add Link. We'll save that, and then I'm going to duplicate this blurb and click on the Edit button and change the title to Competitive Pricing. Scroll down to the content section and remove what's there. Replace it with this. Copy that, paste that in, and then I'll save. Then I'll duplicate this blurb module for our last blurb. Click on the edit icon. Change the title to Work with Great People. Scroll down. Select the text here. Delete that and copy and paste this text. Paste that in here. And then I'm going to make here a link to my About page. Select that, click on the link icon, and then select my About Us page, click on Add Link, and click on Save. And now if we scroll up and update the page, and then view the front end of our website and refresh, you see that we now have all of our blurb modules in place. The last thing I want to add to my home page is a really cool module that creates a carousel of images that are linked to projects. And this would be a good thing to use if you really want to showcase specific parts of your business or your brand. Now, to use the portfolio module, we first need to create what are called projects. And projects are unique to the Divi theme, and we need to go back to the back end. They're created by going to Projects, hover over that, and click on Add New. And we do have the option to use the page builder with projects. However, I'm going to stick to the standard visual editor, and this is going to look much like our blog posts look. We'll have a content section with the sidebar, and of course the widgets that we've added to our sidebar will show up since we are not using the page builder. So I'm going to give this first project a title, call it Landscape, and then I'm going to paste in some content that I have here. Paste that in. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to add a project category, and for all of my projects I'm going to put them in the same category, which is going to be photography. Click on Add New Category, and then I need to add a featured image, so I'm going to scroll down and click on Set Featured Image, and I'm going to select this image for my landscape project. Click on Set Featured Image, and just like with our blog posts, our featured image is going to show up above the content on our project pages, and also the featured image is going to be the image that shows up on the carousel module that we're going to put on our home page. Let's go ahead and publish this project. Click on Publish, and then I need to view the project on my front end, and since we haven't added it to the menu yet, what I can do is click on View Project here. That's going to open it up in this same tab, and you can see this is what the project page would look like. We have the project title here, then we have the project category here, and here is our project featured image and the content that we put in. And if we scroll down, this skills option, I want to show you how you can add to that. Let's go back to our project page editor, scroll down, and the skills is controlled by using what are called tags. And just as an example, I'm going to use natural lighting, click on Add, and when we update this project and come back and view the project and scroll down, you can see that underneath skills we have natural lighting. So I'm going to repeat this exact same process with 4 additional projects, and the reason I'm doing a total of 5 projects is because that's what we need to have the carousel function properly. And everything's going to be exactly the same, except I'm going to have a different featured image and a different project title. They're all going to be in the photography category, and I'm not going to use any skills with the other 4. Alright, now that I've got all my other projects created, I'm going to refresh this page. And when I scroll down, you'll see that we have a link to the next project that I created. So I can click on that, and I can see the next project that I created. I can scroll down and navigate through each one of the projects this way. Now let's go back to the back end, and before we add our carousel module, let's add our projects to our main navigation menu. So I'm going to click on the mock photography website title to go back to my back end. And then let's go to Appearance and click on Menus. And we do want to add this to our main navigation menu, so make sure that is the menu selected here, and if it's not, select it and click on Select. And then click on Screen Options and make sure that all of these should be checked, but you definitely want to have Projects checked, and you want to have both categories. We have one here and one here, and those refer to both blog categories and project categories. And then let's come down, and the first thing we're going to do is click on this second categories option. This first one represents the blog categories. Click on the second one. These are going to be our project categories, and since we only have the photography category, which includes all 5 of my projects, I'm going to select that one and click on Add to Menu. And then we can scroll up and click on our projects, and we can click on Select All, and then we can click on Add to Menu. And because I want each project to appear as a drop down underneath photography, I'm going to click, hold, and move them over and release just like that. I could also click on the arrow and click on under photography, and that would accomplish the exact same thing. But we'll just click, hold, and drag to move these over. And remember, you can always click, hold, and drag to rearrange the menu items in whatever order you want them in, but we'll just leave them in the default order. And then let's scroll up and save the menu. And then if we view the front end of our WordPress website and refresh the page, we now have the photography parent menu, and when you hover over that, it drops down all the projects, and we can click on these individually to be taken to each project page, or we can click on the photography project category, and we'll do that. That's going to take us to a page that displays all of the category, or all of the projects within the category, and we can access each one of these projects individually here. Alright, now we can go back to our back end and add the carousel module with our projects to our home page. Let's do that. Go to Pages, click on All Pages. And we're going to click on Home to open up our home page in the page editor. And then let's scroll down, and at the very bottom, underneath this section, I'm going to add a new section, and then I'm going to add a full width section. You can actually use the carousel module in a normal section if you wish to, but I want it to span the full width of the page, so I'm going to use a full width section. Click on that. Then I'm going to click on Insert Modules, and I'm going to select the full width portfolio module. And you can give it a title, but since I don't want there to be any space between the previous section and my carousel, I'm going to leave the title blank, and I do want the carousel layout here. You can experiment with the grid layout. And for categories, all of my projects, all 5 of my projects are in the photography category, so it doesn't really matter if I had multiple categories and wanted to isolate, just like we did with our blog. We could do that, and I'll just check this. Like I said, it doesn't matter either way in this case. And let's scroll down, and we want all these options to be to the default setting, and then we're going to come down and enable automatic carousel rotation. So I'm going to select that and click on Enabled. And then we need to select our speed, and I'm going to use 3 seconds, which is going to be 3,000 milliseconds, just like we did with our slider module. Then I'm going to scroll down and click on Save. And let's scroll up to the top and update the page. And now let's view the front end of our WordPress website and click on the logo to access the home page. And we'll scroll down. And this is what the carousel module looks like. And I'm going to leave my cursor up here and show you every 3 seconds it's going to rotate. And notice that 4 images span the full width of the page, so I have to have at least 5 images for the rotation to function like a carousel would. And we can also hover over these and manually rotate by clicking on these arrows. And let's go back and change this arrow to light. And to do that, let's go back to the page editor, scroll down, click on the edit icon next to full width portfolio, scroll down and change the text color to light. Click on Save. Then let's update the page. And we'll view the front end and refresh. And scroll down, and now when we hover over, you see that we have the light text, which I think looks much better, and we can manually click on these arrows, and also each one of these, of course, you can click on to be taken to the individual project. So I can click on the landscape project to be taken to the project page there. Alright, now that we have our home page complete, let's go over plugins really briefly here. There are thousands and thousands of plugins available for WordPress, and many of them are free to use. And basically, plugins, much like widgets, give you the ability to add additional features and functionality to your site. Now, there are plugins available for just about everything you can imagine, including having a membership website. If you wanted to turn your WordPress site into a membership site or into an e-commerce website, you could use the WooCommerce plugin, which is compatible with the Divi theme. But fortunately for us, the Divi theme comes with many of these fantastic modules that we've been using that function like many of the plugins you would need function, such as the slider module, the gallery module, and the portfolio carousel modules. Now I'm going to show you really briefly, we're going to use the Black Studio Tiny MCE plugin, and that's going to add a visual editor widget so that we can easily add text and images to our widget areas. So let's go back to the back end, and let's go to Plugins and click on Add New, and then come up to the top right, and I'm just going to type in Black Studio, and I'm going to press Enter on my keypad. And this first one here, Black Studio Tiny MCE widget, is the one we want to use. So click on Install Now, and click on OK. And then we need to click on Activate Plugin. And now that the plugin is activated, we can go to Appearance and click on Widgets. And if we scroll down here, we now have this widget called the Visual Editor, which was not there before, and that's a result of the Black Studio plugin we just installed. So what I can do is, if I want to add this visual editor to my sidebar, I can click on that, and I can assign it to the sidebar and scroll down and click on Add Widget. And that's going to add underneath all of the other 3 widgets that I've already got added to my sidebar. And this is exactly as described. It's a visual editor that's made available within the widgets, and I can add text. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say copyright mock photography 2014, and then I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to click on add media, and I'm going to select my logo and click on insert into post, and then I'm going to click on save. And now when we view the front end of our site, and since our projects do have a sidebar, I can just refresh this page, and you see that we now have our visual editor widget showing up, which has the text we put in and our logo, just like that. Alright, the very last thing I want to show you is how to make a couple of changes to the general look of your website. Let's go back to the home page. And of course, right now we're using the full width layout, so these full width modules do truly stretch full width across the screen. But let's go back to the back end, and let's go to Appearance and click on Customize. And under Theme Settings, let's click on that to drop down these options. If we select the box layout by checking the box there, we now have the option to choose either a background color for the rest of our website, or we could use a background image. Now, to select background color, we would just make sure that the box layout's checked, then we can click on colors here, and then right here where it says background color, we would select color. And I'm going to go back to our color wheel and copy this hex code for the brown and paste that in. And now when I save and publish, and notice by the way, we're not able to see this particular change in real time here. We need to save and publish to see the change. And then I can view the front end of my site and refresh the page. This is what the box layout's going to look like. And your full width modules are still full width, but they're only taking up the full width of the available space. So you can scroll down and you can experiment with that. And let's say that you wanted to have a background image instead of a background color. I'm not going to actually do this, but I will point out a great resource for you. I'm going to use the Pixabay tab. If you go to subtlepatterns.com, there are wonderful what are called repeatable pattern backgrounds, and you can download these and you can browse through all of these different backgrounds, and you would download them. And the way they're designed is they're designed to repeat seamlessly left and right, and then from top to bottom. So this background image may, if I view the background image, this tiny little square is all that is occupying this entire background, and it's just repeating left and right and top to bottom. So if you wanted to do that, you could download a pattern from subtlepatterns.com, and you would go back, and as long as you have, under theme settings, as long as you had, scroll up there, the box layout checked, then you would be able to scroll down, and where it says background image, you would be able to select upload a new image, and you would select the file here, and then you would have some options presented after you uploaded your background image file if you wanted to repeat it, and you could repeat it horizontally and vertically. And another thing I want to point out is I'm going to scroll down, and in our footer menu, let's say instead of these being blue when you hover over these links, you wanted to make them a different color. What you could do is come up to colors, and where it says accent color, that's the color that's going to control this particular area. And we could select the accent color, and I'm going to go to my color wheel and just grab the hex code for my base orange color, copy that, and come back and paste that in there. And this is another one that's not going to show up in real time. We actually have to save and publish this for this change to take effect. So I'm going to click on Save and Publish. And because I do want to use the full width layout, I'm going to go back to my theme settings and uncheck boxed layout. Then I'm going to go back to colors, and for the background color, I'm just going to click on select color and clear this, and click on Save and Publish. And now I'm going to view the front end of my website and refresh the page. And we've got our full width layout back, and if I scroll down to my footer, you'll see that when I hover over these links, they're now the orange color of my site. The very last thing I want to show you how to do is how to gain complete control over your website's color scheme. So for example, if you didn't want to use one of the prepackaged color schemes that comes with the Divi theme, like we chose to do, then this is how you would do that. You could go to Appearance, click on Customize, and then you're going to click on Schemes. And of course earlier we selected that we wanted to use the orange color schemes, but you need to select this and you need to be using the default theme. And of course by default you're going to get the blue color scheme, but with the default theme selected, when you click on colors you now have complete control over all of these colors, and without selecting default, not all of these are accessible to you. You might be able to change them here, but they won't actually take effect on the front end of your site. So you have to have the default color scheme selected, and now we can change all of these. For example, the secondary navigation color, we could select color, and we could either paste in a hex code or we could change it to whatever color we wanted. And the same with the primary navigation, we could do the same thing. And of course I'm not by any means trying to make this look professional, I'm just showing you how it's done. But all of these are going to be available, and again, just to reiterate that, you have to go to Schemes and you have to make sure that default is selected, and then you would go to Colors and make your changes and save and publish. Well, congratulations for making it through the entire video. I know it is quite long, but hopefully you feel like you learned a lot. Also, I hope that you decide to try out the Divi theme. I think you will really enjoy working with it and all the additional features and functionality it provides. Also, please don't forget to like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, add the video as a favorite, and share the video with other friends and family. These things really help me out as well. And if you do need hosting, my HostGator coupons again are WP Sculptor 1 cent and WP Sculptor 2.5. And the last thing you can do to show your support is go to wpsculptor.com/Divi to purchase the Divi theme if you do in fact decide to use it. And as always, I'm incredibly grateful for your support, and I hope to see you next time.